Hello everyone, Professor Chimp here, back again to welcome you to another What If story. I've been writing for about 5 years now, and I've written quite a lot of Dragon Ball What Ifs as well as crossover stories during this time. In fact, probably the first ever crossover story I ever worked on was this one. What if DC Martians were in Dragon Ball? The real title should be something like, what if the DC Martians replaced the Namekians in Dragon Ball? But that title is a real mouthful, so it had to be tweaked a little bit. I started this series all the way back in, 2021 I think, when my good friend What If Universe approached me with doing a collab with him, and this is what we came up with. This series has been around multiple channels, first in mine, then with What If Universe, then with Anime Sage's channel. Very long story there. But in the end, it was decided that my channel would be the home for Martians and Dragon Ball from now on. And here we have the complete first season of this series. From the very beginning to the present, you have the entire story of DC Martians and Dragon Ball as of right now. Stick around to the end to see a brand new epilogue chapter that hasn't been shown before. Special thanks to What If Universe for editing this video series the whole way through. I'm Shadow007 for voicing several characters in this series, as well as FoxGeese, Mr. Negative, and the many other talented artists who have been helping out with this series for so long. This series would not have made it so far without all of your support over the years. One last thing before I go. Because this series started so many years ago, the mic quality will be different from my most recent videos. I had a different mic setup back then that isn't as good as I have right now, so please keep that in mind. The audio quality does get better as the series progresses. Alright, with all of that out of the way, let's begin with the story. Throughout the grand tapestry of existence, there is nothing more powerful than stories. It is through stories that we can share grand tales of wonder, epics full of excitement, records of love, and hope overcoming despair. However, there are some stories that stand out more than others. Here's a story you might have heard of before. A young boy is sent hurtling through space by his parents in order to escape his doomed planet. He crash lands on a small, blue planet known as Earth, and his arrival ignites a new age of heroes. This is a powerful story, one that has brought hope to countless lives. However, it is also a very malleable story. It's one that is so powerful, the players can easily change and alter the journey, leaving it nearly unrecognizable. Yet, the story remains the same. In one reality, it is the story of a Kryptonian known as Clark Kent. In another reality, it is the story of a Saiyan known as Son Goku. Interestingly enough, in both of these stories, there are two others who share rather similar origins. John Johns, the last Martian, also known as the Martian Manhunter, and Kami, a Namekian survivor and the former guardian of Earth. Both of these beings escaped their dying planet and arrived on Earth, choosing to become defenders of their respective new homes. What would happen if these two distinct yet similar characters went through different circumstances? What if the home worlds of the Namekians and the Martians switched places? Join us as we explore this brand new What If universe. What if the Martians were in Dragon Ball? Long ago, there was a race of aliens known as Martians who lived on a vast, crimson planet known as Mars. The Martians were split up into various factions and variants. Some were yellow and humanoid, while others were gray with tentacle appendages. There were even some with freakishly long, hairy arms. However, several of these species soon died out, as two species of Martians stood out from the rest and became the dominant races on the planet: the Green Martians and the White Martians. The Green and White Martians had been gifted many extraordinary abilities in order to adapt and survive in their harsh environments. These abilities included superhuman strength, flight, shape-shifting, intangibility, invisibility, telepathy, and Martian vision, a unique ability that allows them to view the entire visual spectrum. Although both races had similar abilities, they had drastically different cultures. While the Green Martians were relatively peaceful, the White Martians were barbaric and bloodthirsty conquerors. Both races were locked into a civil war that lasted for thousands of years. It seemed as if neither race was going to back down until the other was eliminated. One day, a great drought swept across the planet that nearly wiped out Mars' capability to sustain life. Vast famines ravaged the planet, pushing the Green and White Martian towards the brink of all-out war. During this massive drought, there was one final battle between the forces of the Green and White Martians. The Green Martians prevailed, and they sealed the remaining White Martians deep beneath the planet's surface with the hope that they'd never be released again. However, by the time the war was over, it was too late. Mars had become a desolate wasteland, devoid of any water, plants, or wildlife. Viewing their homeworld as a lost cause, most of the remaining Martians evacuated the planet in order to find a new home. However, one sole Green Martian remained. His name was Katas, and he was the Martian Manhunter. He was the champion chosen by his people and given a great task: to keep watch over the sealed White Martians and prevent them from ever being released again. Despite the risks and knowing he'd live a life of hardship, Katas accepted. Yet, Katas had an offspring, a single son named John Johns. During the long Martian Civil War, Katas' wife was killed in the crossfire between the warring factions, leaving the Manhunter and his child all alone. This resulted in a burning hatred of White Martians in his heart, and he instructed his son to always be wary and afraid of the violent, barbaric White Martians. During the end of the war, the Manhunter was asked by his people why he could not let them bring his child with them to their voyage across the stars, but Katas would simply shake his head. In his mind, he believes that the other Green Martians were responsible for the death of his wife and countless others. They were as much to blame for this war as the White Martians were. They cared more about their missions and their war over the lives of their people. Realizing that he doesn't want his son to live a life alone with him on a dead planet, he makes the hardest decision of his life. He pulls his son aside and presents him with the last remaining spaceship. He tells John that he cannot stay here with him anymore. There is a nearby blue planet full of life where he can spend his life living in peace. John protests at first. He refuses to leave his dad behind. Why can't he come with him? But Katas can't leave. He's duty-bound to guard the seal of the White Martians. John cries, "He'll just stay with him here!" Again, Katas shakes his head. Just because he is bound by his duty to stay on Mars, that doesn't mean John should. He needs to go somewhere that is full of light, abundant with water, trees, animals, and people. As John cries out in sadness,
Katas hugs him tight. He tells him to leave and find new friends. People he can depend on, ones who will cherish him, fight for him, and cry with him. Should he ever miss him, he need only look up into the stars and find the red planet they once loved so much. At the end of this tearful farewell, John boards his ship as Katas sends his son blasting off to Earth. After a short trip through space, John crash lands near a city where he soon blends in with the local inhabitants thanks to his shape-shifting abilities. He creates a human alter ego named John Jones, basing his appearance on an old man he saw when he first arrived on the planet. While trying to learn everything he can about this new world and its society, he also learns about the rampant crimes and injustices that plague it. Deciding to use his abilities to his advantage, he becomes a private eye detective in order to gain some steady money, while also solving crimes and helping the people around him. John grew to love the people in West City and the beautiful nature of this world. However, he would always think back to his father and the cold emptiness he must be feeling on Mars. It made him feel guilty that he was enjoying his new life while his father was left alone in the dark, lifeless sand. After several years of living on Earth, John is suddenly contacted telepathically after helping a client find her lost cat. This surprised him. This was something he hadn't experienced since he last saw his father many years ago. The voice told him that he's been monitoring him for quite a while, and he was pleased to see John use his abilities for the greater good. When he has the time, they should meet and have a talk, face to face. Filled with curiosity, John bids his client farewell and flies off to the location given to him by the mysterious voice. He found an enormous tower and flew all the way up, darting past the clouds until he found a massive structure overlooking the heavens. John lands on the building where he meets Mr. Popo and the Guardian of Earth. The Guardian explains that he is the one who guards Earth and that he's been observing him for years, ever since he first arrived from his spaceship. The Guardian tells him to show his real face, as John reveals his true form. He asks the alien why he came to this planet, as John explains his tragic tale. The Guardian ponders for a minute before giving him an offer. With his tremendous power and righteous heart, would he be interested in becoming his apprentice? From out of the lookout, another figure emerges from inside the building, demanding to know what the meaning of this was. The Guardian introduces John to his first pupil, Garlic, a Namekian who is an alien just like him. He too had a righteous heart, and he believes they both could learn to be wonderful peacekeepers together. John agrees, and from that point on, he becomes a disciple of Chyme. John and Garlic don't get along at first. Garlic believed he was superior to him, while John thought he was simply a pompous jerk. However, over time, the two grew close as they became rivals and eventually friends. They bonded over their love for this world and their connection as alien refugees, although Garlic never liked to talk about his past too much. While John happily recounted his memories on Mars during its prime, Garlic never elaborated on his home, the Makio Star. Throughout their training, Chyme noted how Garlic was extremely studious and well-versed in magic, while John was more focused on achieving balance in his soul and sneaking out during training to help people in the mortal realms. Several years later, the day arrived where Chyme would reveal who would become the new Guardian of Earth. Garlic was confident he would get the job, and even John was convinced his rival would achieve it. So it came as a surprise to both of them when Chyme selected John to be his replacement. Garlic tries to plead his case to be Guardian to Mr. Popo and his master, but he is told that their decision is final. After a mysterious ritual is performed, a flabbergasted John obtains Chyme's powers. Chyme vanishes, and John who is the new kami, exclaims he has no idea why he was chosen either. He doesn't understand why he has the role now, but he knows he can't do it alone. John turns to his rival and friend, asking him if he can help him out so they can protect the Earth together. Garlic agrees, but as John turns to talk to Mr. Popo, the Namekian smiles devilishly. From that point on, Garlic stays on the lookout as he assists John as a personal advisor. Mr. Popo grows concerned about Garlic's motives as he tells John that they cannot trust him. However, John refuses to abandon his friend. If the former Guardian trusted him for so long, then so will he. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to the pair, Garlic was busy working on a magical spell to grant him immortality while researching for a power great enough to surpass Kami. He was well aware of John's immense strength and vast abilities. He couldn't afford to underestimate him. After several years, Garlic uncovers a forbidden spell to reincarnate himself as a child if he were ever to die, with the caveat that it would only activate after several centuries pass. A dark magic once used eons ago by a malevolent wizard known as Bibbidi to reincarnate after his death. However, his greatest accomplishment soon came when Garlic sacrificed his very soul to create a perpetual void of darkness and nothingness, the Dead Zone. With this ultimate spell as his trump card, Garlic was confident that he could now defeat John and take his title as Guardian. Garlic gathers a force of like-minded demons with grudges against the heavenly deities to invade the lookout. One day, while John was focusing his attention to the mortal realm as Popo was watering the flowers, a portal reeking of evil appeared from out of nowhere. Swarms of demons emerged from it as John told Popo to prepare himself. The Guardian and his attendant fought off the demons valiantly. Although Popo was one of the most powerful martial artists on the planet, he was nothing compared to John. The alien was able to effortlessly sweep the Legion, decimating waves after waves with his super strength, lightning-fast speed, and heat vision. John even shapeshifted into an enormous dragon that burned many of the invaders with his fiery breath. John yells at Popo to find Garlic and bring him out of the lookout, but Popo says he hadn't seen him all day. At first, John believes the demons had something to do with Garlic's disappearance. Did they kidnap him? However, this changes once a hooded figure emerges from the portal as the rest of the demons bow. You must be the leader of these Hellspawn. Tell me, what have you done to Garlic?
Oh, I'm touched you care so much about me. Worry not, my dear friend. I'm here, safe and sound. In fact, I'm here for your title, Guardian.
What? Garlic's evil ambition soon became apparent to John as the demon revealed everything. His jealousy, his plans for revenge, and his descent into dark magic. All of it so that he may overthrow his dear friend and become the one true god of this world. John was utterly shocked and hurt beyond words. Garlic was his one true friend, and here he was now, betraying him, breaking his heart. John stares down Garlic, proclaiming that he will never give him the title of Guardian, and if he wants it, he'll have to kill him for it. Garlic retorts that can be easily arranged as he orders his minions to attack. Garlic forcefully tries to take the throne. However, John, only using a fraction of his power, easily knocks them all out. Garlic grins. He knew it wouldn't be this easy. He performs a black ritual to steal the life force of his demonic army and transfer them all into himself, bulking up into a monstrous, super-powered state. John grits his teeth, yelling at Garlic that he really has gone mad. The two former rivals clash as John realizes that Garlic is leagues more powerful than he was before. For the first time in his life, John was being beaten brutally in a fight. In his mind, however, John was still holding back. He could shut down Garlic's mind, phase his fist through his chest, or throw him into the sun. But he couldn't. He just couldn't bring himself to hurt his best friend. Super Garlic grabs John's head and smashes it down, breaking through the floor of the lookout and sending them deeper into the building until they arrive at a dark cemetery. The pair knew where they were. This was the Shen Senkai, the realm of gods and sages, an otherworldly dimension within the lookout that serves as the final resting place of the former Guardians of Earth. As John and Garlic continue to fight, they are suddenly attacked by the spirits of the previous Guardians. John and Garlic stop fighting as they stand face to face with their mentor, the previous Guardian of Earth that trained the pair, their former master. Enraged, Garlic demands to know why John received the role of Guardian instead of him. He was completely loyal to him, followed every single one of his orders, and he valued his master above anyone else. So why did he betray him and give John the role? The previous Guardian stares at the demon, calmly explaining that he was too selfish. His logical decisions for self-preservation were needed for a leader, but he never cared to think about the lives of the mortals living down on Earth. In contrast, John, who was less tactical, always cared about the lives he protected, and he always strived to find solutions to improve the lives of the people he met. A true Guardian is one who nurtures, as well as defends. Power is meaningless unless you have people to protect. John looks at his former master with tears forming in his eyes. He never knew that this is what his mentor thought of him. However, this moment is interrupted by a rampaging Garlic. Seething with anger, Garlic declares that he, John, and the rest of this accursed realm can disappear into darkness. As a last resort, Garlic opens the dead zone. As John struggles to keep himself from being sucked into the portal, Garlic lunges at him. The two trade blows once more as they attempt to find footing in the face of this massive void. Just when it looks like John is about to be sucked into the portal, several beams of light are fired into it. John and Garlic turn around to face the graves of the former Guardians. Their spirits were using their magic to seal the dead zone. Garlic's eyes widen, yelling wildly that they can't do this. The dead zone would grant him his ultimate victory. John becomes intangible, freeing himself from Garlic's grasp as he punches him across the jaw. Garlic is sent flying backwards as he grabs onto a gravestone in a feeble attempt to save his life. John realizes what's about to happen as he attempts to approach Garlic, begging him to take his hand. Garlic merely looks at John, and he chuckles.
Oh, John, you always wear a bleeding heart, aren't you? Even after everything I've done, you still try to save me. That's exactly why you can't be Guardian, John. You haven't learned that you can't save everyone. One day, you'll understand what I mean, and when that day comes, you'll wish you'd have let me be God.
Garlic! No! Garlic lets go of the gravestone as he is then sucked straight into the vortex. The former Guardian spells are finished as the dead zone is successfully sealed away. John looks back at the former Guardians as they make eye contact. They each give a final farewell as they fade back into nothingness, leaving John standing alone in the desolate cemetery. After the end of the battle, John and Mr. Popo rebuilt the lookout. It took some time, but soon everything was fixed and in their proper places. As Popo wipes off the sweat from his forehead, he turns around to call for John, asking him if he'd like some tea. Popo gasps as a tall figure holding a wooden staff, clad in a white robe and warm blue cloak, appears from the lookout. Popo nearly tears up, remarking at just how much he reminds him of the former guardian. He then looks at the red symbol emblazoned on John's chest. It was a bright red circle with an X in the middle. Popo asks what that symbol means as John smiles. This is the symbol of the Martian Manhunter, the champion of my people. There was no word for justice on my planet, but this symbol was the closest we had. It's an ideal, to strive for equality for all, to go beyond what is believed to be possible. My father, he was the last Manhunter. He was given an unbearable task and abandoned by his people, destined to watch over a wasteland for all eternity. He sent me here, to Earth, in order to give me a chance for a better life. I wish to honor him and the ideals he instilled in me. Wherever I go, my father and the ideals of the Martian Manhunter will follow me too. Now, come, my dear friend, let us guard this planet once more. Oh, and Mr. Popo, don't call me John anymore. Call me Kami. The Martian has saved us! After decades of living among humanity, the alien known as John Johns was recruited by the Guardian of Earth to become his apprentice. Together with his rival, Garlic, John pushed himself to new heights and earned the right to become the new Guardian. However, this relationship takes a dark turn as Garlic, bitter and torn over the loss of the title of Kami, leads a demonic rebellion. The two former allies clash, resulting in the Martian ultimately defeating Garlic and his army. But at what cost? Following the battle, John accepts his role as Kami. Will the Manhunter be able to keep his promise and protect the Earth? Find out now. A Legend Reborn. What if Martians were in Dragon Ball? Part 2. Our story begins on a day like any other. Kami had his eyes closed, watching over the Earth with his various godly and alien senses, as Popo was busy watering his plants. It had been several hundred years since John had accepted the role of Kami, and things were relatively peaceful, although humanity would continue to go to war with themselves every few decades or so. There was never another apocalyptic event since Garlic's demonic invasion. Garlic. Kami sighed. Remembering his old friend was still very painful. No matter how many years passed, the wounds in his heart were still fresh. The god never truly forgave himself for failing to save his friend, even after everything he had done. Suddenly, Kami's eyes bolted open as Popo looked up at the sky.
Kami! Do you sense that?
Indeed I can. Could it be? Someone enter Earth's atmosphere. This key wasn't extraordinarily high, but it clearly wasn't like anything else from Earth. Kami's heart was beating fast. Was this an alien? Just like him? Kami takes a deep breath, recomposing himself as he decides to peer into the mortal realm. With his omniscient sight, Kami witnesses what was happening down on Earth. A space pod crash-landed near Mount Pautsu and was discovered by an elderly old man. Inside the pod was merely a baby boy, a rather rowdy boy, but ultimately harmless nonetheless. Kami watched on as the old man decided to adopt the boy and raise him as his own. The god decides to keep a close eye on the child, not yet sure if it would become a threat or not. For the next few years, Kami pays close attention to Mount Pautsu, witnessing the old man known as Gohan attempt to raise the boy with great difficulty. However, the boy's personality takes a sharp turn after falling off a ravine and nearly cracking his head open. Kami was surprised. He didn't expect the boy to survive the fall, let alone become so sweet. He was glad that the alien, now named Son Goku, was growing to become such a nice, kind lad. Kami even wondered to himself if he should stop monitoring Goku. He couldn't possibly hurt a fly, let alone people. However, this perception was changed forever when, one night, under the light of a full moon, Kami witnessed something horrifying. The nice, sweet boy he had watched over the years had transformed into a giant, rampaging monster. Kami looked on in horror as the giant monkey tore Mount Paozu apart. He saw the elderly Gohan try his best to defend himself and keep the monster busy the entire night. Kami clutched his staff, nearly breaking it. Should he intervene? His heart was compelling him to leave and save Gohan's life, but his vow as a guardian to not interfere in the mortal realm was compelling him to stay. As Kami continued to struggle with his thoughts, he felt something disappear. The monster had stomped on Gohan, killing him. Kami gritted his teeth. Because of his self-doubt, a good, honest man was gone, and now an enormous beast was about to continue its rampage. Kami bent his knees, ready to take off to battle, but he stopped. As the morning sun rose into view, Kami saw that the giant monster had started to shrink, reverting back into a little boy. The god watched on as the young Son Goku looked around in confusion, finding his grandfather's body and mourning deeply for his loss. This young child, he had no idea what just happened. He was innocent, still pure of heart. Kami couldn't bring himself to end Goku. He deserved to have a chance at life, just like anyone else. He thinks back to Garlic, in the potential for good his rival had, and how his life could have been much different if he had been able to accept his second chance. Kami vows to continue watching over Goku, promising to himself that he won't repeat the mistakes of the past, and instead allow this stranger from outer space to thrive here. However, that transformation was still a big problem. Kami decided it would be best to not let that happen again. He reaches into the young boy's mind one night while he was sleeping, appearing in his dreams in the form of his grandpa. Kami warned Goku about looking at the moon at night, or else a monster would appear. The young Goku happily agreed, hugging the god as he yells out how glad he is to see him again. Kami didn't feel right in manipulating Goku like this, but it was necessary in order to protect the world. And, at least, it did bring some comfort to the young boy. Several months pass on by without another major monstrous incident. Many miles away, towards the sea, an old hermit sleeps lazily on his sofa. It's at this point that his phone rings as he crawls over to pick up the phone. A loud, booming voice shouts out of the phone, telling the old master he needs to stop sleeping until 4 in the afternoon. This old man was none other than the invincible Master Roshi, and the man on the other end of the phone was his master, the indomitable Master Mutaito. In this timeline, there was no mortal war against demonkind. Mutaito and his dojo continued to live on and thrive. Although Mutaito was content with living his life naturally and dying peacefully, he realized he just couldn't leave this earth as long as his 2 star pupils, Roshi and Shen, continued their toxic rivalry. As a result, when given the chance to smoke the paradise herb with his students and their siblings, he agreed, as they all imagined a phoenix granting them immortality. They couldn't tell if this was a bad trip or not, and afterwards, they all agreed to never talk about it again. As Mutaito chewed out Roshi, he asked his former pupil if he's talked to his own pupils recently. Roshi ponders for a moment, shrugging his shoulders and stating that it's been a couple of decades. Maybe. Mutaito barks into the phone once again, telling Roshi he's a poor excuse for a master, and that he needs to pay a visit to his students every now and then. His hermit lifestyle was really getting out of hand. Upon getting reprimanded by his own master, Roshi decides it's about time he pays Mount Paozu a visit and check up on his star pupil. To his horror, he finds a destroyed home, a young boy grilling bear meat, and a grave for son Gohan. Goku introduces himself and tells the old man who he is, along with how Grandpa Gohan died. Roshi is very saddened to hear this, as he quietly mourns the loss of Gohan. Many thoughts run through his mind. If he had checked in on Gohan earlier, none of this would have happened. And this monster, he was worried about this giant monster that seems to have made these mountains his home. If it was strong enough to beat Gohan, then this boy was in grave danger. Roshi tells Goku that he was once Gohan's master, and that he'll offer to look after him as a way to repay Gohan. Goku is excited. He can't wait to train again. The monkey boy happily accepts and prepares to leave the mountain behind. They both pay their respects to Gohan's shrine one more time, as Goku makes sure to bring along his trusty power pole. For the next few years, Goku was raised by Master Roshi in the art of peace and war known as the Turtle Style. Goku wasn't a fan of how small the island was. What was he supposed to hunt now? Thankfully, Goku knew how to swim, and soon enough, he was bringing back giant sharks, barracudas, and even whales back to the island for dinner. Goku's strength, speed, and endurance utterly dumbfounded Roshi, but he made sure to put him through his extreme training nonetheless. Goku was able to pull off the Kamehameha, and even started practicing other turtle school techniques. Slowly, Goku's power grew and grew until eventually, he was given his very own weighted turtle shell. The young boy was able to settle into his new lifestyle, and he became much more than just a student to Roshi. He became the closest thing he had to a son. Before they knew it, several years had passed since Goku moved into the island. One day, Roshi and Goku are laying around a hammock near Kame House when a hover car starts to approach the island. A young girl steps out of the car, introducing herself as Bulma. Goku was amazed. He'd never seen a girl before. And what was that thing she was on? Was it some kind of flying monster? She asks the pair if they've ever heard of a place called Korin Tower before. Roshi's sleazy attitude immediately shifts to surprise. How did this girl know about that tower? With a smile on her face, Bulma begins to tell her story. She is spending her spring break away from school in order to meet God. She wants to figure out if the old legend of the heaven in the sky story she heard from a fortune teller is true. According to the legend, there is an enormous tower hidden deep within a forest, and if you reach the top and go even further beyond, you'll reach heaven, where God is waiting to grant you a single wish. During her research, she found out that the only living person to have ever climbed such a tower was the invincible Master Roshi. At first, Roshi corrects her, saying his master was in fact the first one to climb the tower, not him. Roshi elaborates that he's not sure if he's willing to disclose such information about the tower. Bulma shows him her panties, which is more than enough to convince him to draw her a map to Korin's tower. Before Bulma departs though, Roshi thinks that this could be the moment he's been waiting for. He offers to send Goku along with her as a bodyguard. Both Bulma and Goku are surprised, but Roshi tells the boy that this is a good opportunity to go see the world and experience more of what life has to offer. Bulma isn't so sure about this at first, but once she sees Goku punch a hole in her car door, she agrees instantly. Before they leave, Roshi suddenly remembers something. Something really important. He forgot to meet with the Ox King. Goku asks why he didn't see him earlier, as Roshi retorts that he was pretty busy raising him. He tells the kids to stop by Fry Pan Mountain and check to see if the Yellow Ox is doing alright for himself, which they happily accept. With one more goodbye, the pair fly off. Their first stop is Fry Pan Mountain, where they encounter the Ox King, who slices their hover car in half with his axe. Goku takes out his power pole and slams it against the Ox King's axe. A battle ensues, and both fighters realize just how similar their techniques are. When Goku starts to charge a Kamehameha, the Ox King realizes that he must be a Turtle School student. He drops his axe as he begs Goku to ask their master if he still has the Bancho fan. His castle is on fire, and the fan is the only thing that could possibly put it out. Goku accepts, calling forth his old friend, the Flying Nimbus. Bulma is completely shocked at what she's seeing, while the Ox King simply laughs. He's never seen someone ride that cloud before. Before the boy leaves, the Ox King asks Goku if he can also find his daughter Chi-Chi, who he had sent off earlier to find Roshi. Goku throws him a peace sign. He'll do his best. As Goku rides the Nimbus, he finds Chi-Chi as she kills a dinosaur, which impresses him. She sure was tough. Goku takes Chi-Chi along with him on the Flying Nimbus to get Roshi. She gets feelings for Goku almost immediately, but even in this timeline, Goku still doesn't have a clue. They arrive at Kame House, interrupting Roshi as he was in the middle of watching his favorite exercise video. He asks Goku why he's back so soon, as Goku tells him they need the Bancho fan. However, it's revealed that Roshi had already thrown away the Bancho fan because it had a coffee stain on it. Roshi thinks that maybe he should put out the fire himself, but then he looks at Goku. Nah, he's got this. Roshi tells his people that he should be more than capable of putting out the fire himself, as Goku snickers. Yeah, probably. Back at the mountain, Chi-Chi is reunited with her father, as Ox King asks where the Bancho fan is. Goku tells him they couldn't get it, but it's fine. He can put out the fire himself. Everyone is confused at first. How is he gonna do that? Goku stands up, focusing deeply as his muscles expand, ripping through his gi. Gathering all of his energy, he fires a full power Kamehameha, which puts out the fire and completely destroys the castle. Everyone is shocked at the amount of power Goku holds, as the Ox King wonders to himself if Goku could be even stronger than their master. Goku apologizes for blowing up his home, but the Ox King just laughs. It's fine. He's just glad that the fire is gone. They can rebuild his castle later. As Bulma and Goku prepare to leave, an anxious Chi-Chi approaches the boy. She asks Goku to marry her, and not really knowing what that is, he accepts. Afterwards, Goku and Bulma reach a desert, where they encounter the desert bandit Yamcha. The thief demands that they hand over their capsules or else, but Goku refuses. They need them to find that tower. Goku, who is full after eating a huge meal with the Ox King and Chi-Chi, is able to easily defeat Yamcha in their first battle. Yamcha finds out Goku was trained by Master Gohan and Master Roshi. The bandit gives up, realizing that not only is Goku a martial arts master himself, he also has a really pretty girl with him. Nervously, Yamcha gives him and Bulma directions, stating that they need to head north to the tundra to find the tower they are looking for. Bulma thanks Yamcha for his help, blowing a kiss his way that nearly kills him as the two adventurers speed off. After some time passes, Puar asks Yamcha if he gave him the right directions, and to his horror, he realizes he messed up big time. He didn't give them directions to Korin Tower. He gave them directions to Muscle Tower. That evil Red Ribbon army was gonna tear them apart. He heads off with Puar to Muscle Tower in order to catch up to Goku and Bulma, hoping that it's not too late to stop them from entering that tower. Goku and Bulma make it to Jingle Village, and despite the protests of the local villagers, they both enter Muscle Tower and start climbing it. Goku defeats the many army soldiers inside and Major Metallotron rather easily. After Goku kicks off Metallotron's head, Bulma remarks that she thinks she may have seen these robot designs before. but she can't quite put her finger on it. When they enter the 4th floor to fight the Ninja Murasaki, Yamcha and Puar arrive, and with their help, Goku is able to defeat the ninja and his brothers. Yamcha tries to convince Goku and Bulma that they need to get out of here while they still can, but his warnings fall on deaf ears. Bulma is gonna meet God no matter what, and Goku wants to see if there are any stronger guys in his tower. Yamcha sighs as Puar reassures him that he tried his best. The two join Goku and Bulma in climbing the tower. They soon encounter the intimidating Android 8, but they discover he's actually a nice guy who doesn't want to fight. Bulma was intrigued. This robot's AI must be incredibly advanced to act like a real person. He befriends Goku and offers to help them rescue the village mayor. The gang looks puzzled as Ader is taken aback. Weren't they there to rescue the mayor? Upon reaching the final floor, our heroes find General White holding the mayor hostage. White can't believe all his highly trained soldiers were defeated by a bunch of kids. He attempts to threaten the mayor at gunpoint, but he is easily defeated by a lightning-fast kick. However, the general activates a trap that sends the gang plummeting down the tower, where they find themselves face to face with the pink behemoth known as Bouillon. Yamcha and Goku try to attack the beast, but all of their attacks simply bounce off it. Goku decides that fighting this guy just isn't fun, so he stands before the monster as he waves his hands back and forth. Utilizing one of Master Roshi's secret moves, the Sleepy Boy technique, Bouillon falls into a deep slumber. The gang very quietly break through the ceiling with a Kamehameha and ascend upwards with the power pole. The heroes rescue the village mayor, and they reach the top of the tower, where nothing happens. What gives? This is when Yamcha nervously reveals that he accidentally gave them the wrong directions earlier, which angers Bulma. They risk their lives for nothing. Ader raises his hand, telling Bulma that he has a built-in radar that can take them wherever they need to go. He offers to go along with them on their journey since he feels that he owes them a debt of gratitude for rescuing him. Bulma snickers. He can join if he promises to let her take a look at his circuits after this is all over. Goku squeals with delight at a new friend joining the party as Ader sweats nervously. Using the Flying Nimbus, the pure-hearted Android 8 is able to join their quest as they head off to their final destination, Korin's Tower. The journey continues. After meeting a young girl who had arrived at his island, the young Son Goku embarked on a mystical adventure. After facing many challenges and foes, Goku and his friends ascended the mighty Muscle Tower. However, this wasn't the tower they were supposed to climb. Embarrassed, and with a new friend in tow, our heroes set off to their final destination. Unfortunately for our heroes, another set of obstacles await them. Can Goku and friends pass the trials of the Koringa tribe? Find out now. God and his trials. What if Martians were in Dragon Ball? Part 3. The Z Fighters travel a long way back to the desert, where the gang stops at Mushroom City to get supplies. They encounter the rabbit mob, who ends up turning Yamcha into a carrot when he attempts to save Bulma from the rabbit's magic. Puar holds Carrot Yamcha, lamenting that things always get trippy in Mushroom City. Enraged, Ader tries to attack Monster Carrot, but he is also turned into a carrot. Goku uses the power pole to defeat the mob and save his friends. As Yamcha lies on the ground stunned, Ader yells out that he can't believe he was a vegetable. The group finally arrives at the land of Korin. They find Korin's tower and meet its guardians, the Koringa tribe. The village chief, Bora, introduces himself and his son Upa to them. They also meet a peculiar family in the village. The elder shaman, Piccolo, his wife and fellow shaman, Flute, their eldest son, Tambourine, second eldest, Trombone, third eldest, Drum, and their youngest child, a daughter named Chyme.
Bulma asks if this is the tower from the Heaven in the Sky legend, which Bora confirms. If they climb this tower, then they'll have a chance to meet God. However, before they're able to climb the tower, they must prove to the Kringa tribe, the guardians of this land, that they are worthy. In order to prove themselves worthy, the group must pass these 3 trials: the path of wisdom, the path of strength, and the path of heart. For the first trial, the path of wisdom, they must enter a cave guarded by stone golems. At the end of the cave is an ancient puzzle that has stumped the greatest minds of the last 1,000 years. If they solve the puzzle, they pass with no problems. If they fail, the stone guardians will awaken to seal them inside the cave, dooming them to a brutal, slow death. The gang enter the cave, scared and nervous, where they find a stone altar that contains the puzzle. A Rubik's Cube! Goku and Ader gasp in horror at what they see, but Bulma and Yamcha fall to the ground. Bulma solves the cube without any issues. As they leave the cave, the Kringa tribe look on in shock. Barely anyone has ever solved that puzzle. Appa congratulates the travelers, as Bora tells them that their challenges aren't over yet. The first trial was the easiest of the 3. The next trial is on a whole other level. For the second trial, the path of strength, they must either defeat all the warriors of the Kringa tribe, or have them acknowledge their strength. Goku and Yamcha step up to the ring as they fight the tribe's greatest warriors. Goku and Yamcha defeat Bora and many of the other warriors. However, once they had to fight the children of the shamans, they were in for an immense surprise. Neither of them were able to defeat them. Yamcha wasn't able to land a single hit on any of them, and although Goku was able to land his attacks, they seemingly did no damage. Goku uses various techniques against the brothers, but none of them work. Goku creates multiple after images, but the brothers are able to find him every time. He fires a Kamehameha, but Tambourine tanks the blast head on without a scratch. Goku even goes full power and launches a punch at Drum, but he effortlessly blocks the fist and throws him to the ground. The challengers aren't able to defeat Trombone, Drum, or Tambourine. However, the brothers acknowledge the young Saiyan as a true warrior. They hadn't had a fight that exciting in years. Goku is amazed that there could be this many people in the world that are that much stronger than him. The brothers laugh as Chyme tells Goku that their papa is even stronger than them. Goku is pumped up as he challenges the Elder Shaman to a fight, but Bulma and Yamcha quickly drag Goku aside. For the final trial, the Path of Hearts, Goku and the gang enter the Piccolo family tent, where Flute is waiting for them. Flute asks them all to extend their hands so she can read their palms, which she claims will reveal their true character. They all extend their hands out as the shaman closes her eyes, scanning their souls and minds. Flute is surprised to see just how strange these people are. One only desires a boyfriend and strawberries. Another only wishes to cure his ailment towards girls. She can't even read the mind of the large man. And this boy, he was the strangest of them all. For the first time in her entire life, Flute could not detect a single shred of malice or evil in someone's mind. He was truly pure of heart. She asks the group to pull her hands back as she smiles, congratulating them for passing their final test. The group has now been recognized by the tribe as worthy, as they are granted permission to begin their journey to their true path to power. The entire group celebrates, but as Bulma is about to pull out a capsule, the Elder Shaman warns them that they cannot use any machines or magic to climb the tower. They must climb up there the old-fashioned way. Ader mentions that he is a machine, so would he still be allowed to climb? The Kringa tribe, not knowing exactly what to do here, huddle together and whisper amongst themselves before telling the android that they'll make an exception for his special circumstances. Bulma and Puar ride on Ader's back as Ader, Goku, and Yamcha climb up. The Kringa tribe cheer them on until they are no longer in sight. As the tribe disperses, Flute approaches her husband to tell him that she has faith in these people. They'll definitely be able to meet him. Piccolo chuckles. He never thought he'd live to see another person pass her trial. Flute pulls her husband aside as she tells him that there was something else she needed to say. As she looked deeper inside little Goku's mind, she saw flashes of his memories from much earlier in his life. She saw a space pod, a man and a woman with a tail, and a massive explosion. Piccolo starts to sweat as he asks Flute if what she saw was true and not simply a memory of a dream. She nods as the couple look back up at the tower where they had last seen Goku.
Then it must be true. I was wondering about the tail, but now there's no doubt about it. That young boy, he's an alien, just like us.
Back on the tower, things aren't looking good for our heroes. They have been climbing for nearly 2 whole days. At one point, Yamcha is about to fall from exhaustion, but Bulma encourages him to keep going. Eventually, our heroes reach the top of the tower, where they meet a talking cat. The mysterious feline introduces himself as Korin, the master of the tower. It's been a while since he had any guests. Bulma asks Korin if he's God, as he laughs. Of course he's not. Why would God be a cat? That's stupid. The true God is actually up above him. However, he'll only tell them how to reach him if they're able to catch the bell on his tail. Ader, Goku, and Yamcha try to catch the bell, but they can't. They're exhausted, and Goku is starving, so Korin gives them some senzu beans. Ader turns down his bean. He just has to recharge his batteries. Does he happen to have an outlet he can plug into? Korin just looks at him with a look of concern. Goku and Yamcha are rejuvenated as Goku mentions that maybe it's time he busts out that technique he's been working on. Goku tells Yamcha to chase after Korin and to get out of the way when he can. Yamcha places his trust in Goku, and as he lunges after Korin, the cat leaps back. Goku shouts out, "Now!" as he stretches out his hands, firing a massive jolt of electricity. Korin is zapped, his whiskers frying up as he falls to the ground. As his fur poofs up and he yells at Goku, asking him if he was trying to kill him with a stunt like that, Korin realizes that his bell was missing. Ader was holding on to it with a smile on his face. They did it! Korin chuckles. He was outplayed this time. Not bad. He reveals to the group that the only way to reach heaven is by attaching an ancient artifact known as the Power Pole to the top of the tower. Unfortunately, this artifact has been lost to time. Without it, there's no way to reach beyond the clouds. This is when Goku pulls out his Power Pole and asks if this was the pole he was talking about. Korin's eyes widened. How the hell does this kid already have the Power Pole? Goku laughs. Who knew his grandpa's pole would come in handy like this one day? With the pole in hand, Goku attaches it to the top of Korin Tower and it extends into the clouds. The gang hold on tight as they shoot upwards, parting the clouds until they finally reach the lookout. They are greeted by both Popo and the Guardian of Earth, Kami. Bulma looks at Kami with a curious expression on her face. She didn't think God would look so green. He commends them on completing their quest as he states that he's been keeping an eye on them for a while. In true Wizard of Oz fashion, he allows each of them to ask him for a single request. Ader asks if he can be a real person, as Kami replies that he's already a real person with feelings and friends who care about him. Poir asks if he can take a picture with him and sign it in order to prove to his old middle school friends that he knows God personally. Kami obliges, having Popo take a picture with a camera and creating a pen from out of thin air to sign it. Yamcha asks if he can get rid of his phobia of women, as Kami says that he's already gotten rid of it. By this point in his journey, Yamcha has already gotten comfortable with talking to Bulma. He had already inadvertently solved his own problem. Bulma asks if he can give her the perfect boyfriend, as Kami bluntly says that she's too young to be dating. Yamcha says, maybe he couldn't grant your request because I'm already here. Finally, Goku asks Kami if he can spar with him, and he accepts. Goku and Kami prepare themselves to fight. Goku goes in for a punch, but the punch goes right through Kami as if he was punching the air. Before Goku can process what's happening, Kami karate chops him in the neck and knocks him out, winning him the match instantly. Goku is amazed at just how strong God is, as Kami smiles. Kami tells him that, although he is pretty strong right now, he has plenty of room for improvement. He asks Goku to promise him that he'll continue to grow and train so that one day he can come back to the lookout and challenge him again. Goku happily accepts. Kami says that they'll always be welcome here at the lookout as the gang ride with Popo on his carpet back down to the land of Korin. Once the gang return to the mortal realm, they go their separate ways. Yamcha and Puar head off with Bulma to West City as the two teens realize their feelings for each other. Ader wasn't really sure where to go, even contemplating heading back to Jingle Village, but Bulma insists that he come back with her to the city so she can study his circuitry. As Goku hops on his flying Nimbus, he says goodbye to all his friends before taking off. Kami looks on from the lookout, smiling as he sees the excited monkey boy returning home. I'm surprised you revealed your true form to those youngsters. You've never done that before. I felt that it was fitting to show who I really am to them, especially to the boy with the tail, from one alien to another. I think that was wonderful. He sure does look happy, doesn't he? Indeed he is. I hope that happiness lasts. I'm glad that we were able to meet face to face. His strength and skills are astonishing, and his heart. It's the purest heart I've ever seen. As long as he remains dedicated to his training and his morals, he'll go far. I think so too. Maybe in 100 years or so, he might be a worthy challenger for you. I don't know about that, old friend. In fact, I feel as if our union may come sooner than we think. God is among us! After completing the trials of the Koringa tribe and catching the crafty Korin, Goku and his friends finally reach heaven. At the lookout, they meet Kami and Popo for the first time. After receiving their wishes and witnessing a rather quick battle between Kami and Goku, the group leaves, but not before Goku vows to get stronger for a rematch. The friends go their separate ways as Goku heads back to Roshi's island. What does fate have in store for our hero? Find out now. A hero returns! What if Martians were in Dragon Ball? Part 4. Goku flies back to Kame House on his trusty Nimbus Cloud, interrupting Roshi, who was busy in the bathroom. Roshi barks at the boy, demanding to know why he's back so soon, as Goku happily declares that he just saw God. Roshi blinks, then he blinks twice. That shouldn't be possible. It took him nearly 3 years to climb that infernal tower. Goku says that, yeah, it was pretty long, and it did take him 2 whole days to climb it. Roshi is flabbergasted. He can't believe Goku went up the tower that quickly. Goku describes his entire adventure to Roshi, his meeting with the Ox King, putting out the fire at Mount Frypan, his first battle with Yamcha, clearing out Muscle Tower, completing the 3 trials of the Koringa tribe, catching Korin, and of course, his battle against Kami. Well, it was less of a battle and more of a trouncing. Goku laments that he didn't stand a chance. God sure was strong. Goku then asked Roshi what he wished for when he first went up the tower, as Roshi smiles weirdly, blood dripping down his nose.
The less you know, Goku, the better.
Goku doesn't ask any more questions because he was already busy rummaging through Roshi's fridge for food. Roshi sighs. There goes another month of groceries down the drain. As Goku happily eats away, Roshi asks his pupil if he has any goals for the time being. Goku swallows his meal as he triumphantly declares that he wants to train and get stronger so he can beat God. Roshi nods. That's a very admirable goal. How does he plan to do it exactly? Goku thinks for a moment before happily stating that he has no idea. Roshi suggests that he should leave the island once more and seek a new teacher. After all, Goku learned all of Roshi's teachings a long time ago. Goku wonders aloud if there's any other good masters out there in the world, as Roshi states that he does know of one, the invincible master, Mutaito, Roshi's very own master. Goku gets excited. This guy was his master's master? He must be really strong! Roshi tells Goku that he should seek out his former master for further training. Goku nods, and after getting some directions, Goku sets off on his flying Nimbus once more. Shortly after, Goku arrived on Papaya Island, where he found a massive, pristine dojo. Once there, the young boy was face to face with Master Mutaito for the very first time. Initially, Mutaito would not allow Goku to train under him unless he defeated every other martial artist within his dojo. However, it only took Goku a few minutes to completely manhandle the hundreds of students within its sacred halls. Flabbergasted, Mutaito finally realized just who this kid was. He was the student Roshi had told him about. Regaining his composure, Mutaito warned Goku that this training would be intense and fit for only the most battle-hardened warriors. Goku jumps with joy. He's so excited! From that point on, Goku became a student of the Mutaito Training Academy. Mutaito drilled Goku ruthlessly like a drill sergeant, ordering him to do outlandish tasks such as hunting dinosaurs with his bare hands or standing underneath massive, roaring waterfalls for days on end. However, Mutaito is completely shocked at what he sees. Goku killed a massive Tyrannosaurus Rex with a single punch to the head. And stayed under a waterfall for over a week. Mutaito calls Roshi on the phone, exasperated, as he asks his former pupil what kind of monster did he send him. Roshi simply laughs, letting him know that he wasn't kidding. Goku is a special boy. With that in mind, Mutaito rethinks his training regimen, focusing on spiritual training and honing Goku's spirit energy rather than just pure physical training. Meanwhile, Yamcha ends up seeking out Master Roshi to be a better martial artist. However, at the same time, a young monk boy arrives on the island to seek out training as well. Thanks to Goku's influence, Roshi is more willing to take on more students. However, Roshi hasn't changed too much. He still asks both prospective martial artists to bring back a pretty girl. Yamcha snickers, calling on the phone and asking Bulma to come over. When she does, Yamcha shows her off to Roshi, but he rejects her immediately.
No way! I've already seen this one before. Besides, I want someone older.
Bulma slaps Roshi and Yamcha, but Yamcha still begs her for her help. With a big sigh, Bulma tells Yamcha and the young boy known as Krillin to get on her plane. The three search around the area for a pretty girl until they discover someone getting harassed by cops. A pretty girl with blue hair. Yamcha and Krillin waste no time in saving her, thinking these were thugs pretending to be cops. Bulma asks her where all these bags of money came from, but the stranger known as Launch simply says she doesn't know. Bulma has her suspicions, but she quickly forgets about it when she smacks Yamcha for oogling Launch. When they return to the island, Roshi is very pleased as he takes on the boys to be his new pupils. Before they enter the shack to begin their training, Krillin quietly dumps his nude magazines into the ocean.
I didn't realize Master Roshi was so cultured. I shouldn't expect anything less from such a wise master.
No! Come back! After I thought everything was going my way. There is always TV, Master. They show that on TV? For the next few months, Roshi and Mutaito continue training their students, while Krillin and Yamcha were busy delivering milk and swimming away from sharks. Goku was focused on meditation and learning how to wield his spiritual energy. Mutaito was pleased to see how quick Goku was in picking up his teachings. He was already able to sense ki, and soon enough, he might be able to amplify his Kamehameha. One day, Roshi and his students visited the Mutaito Training Academy. Goku was excited to see his old master and Yamcha once again. Krillin wasn't sure what to make of Goku. He didn't seem that tough, but he was Master Roshi's former student. It only makes sense to treat him with respect. Both masters informed their students that, in only a few months, the 21st World Tournament would arrive. This was a martial arts tournament to determine who was the strongest fighter in the world. The boys were pumped up, thrilled at the idea of facing strong opponents. As Goku, Krillin, and Yamcha sparred, Roshi and Mutaito talked to each other as they caught up. Mutaito told Roshi that Goku's progress was astounding. He had never encountered someone who had such battle tendency and physical skill to match. Mutaito bluntly admits that he doubts he could beat Goku as he is right now. Roshi gulped. He was really hoping he wouldn't say that. Roshi doubts he could beat Goku either. Roshi and Mutaito both wonder aloud if anyone could possibly defeat Goku.
I think Goku might be the world's strongest.
Oh, come on. We both know someone who has power unmatched by man.
Oh, so are we gonna ask God to fight him like those children's RPG games I've been hearing about?
You got any better ideas?
What about the Crane School? I heard they have a student who's pretty strong.
I'd rather face God before I ask Shen for any favors. With renewed determination, Roshi decides to act out his plan. After returning home, Roshi orders his students to continue their regular training, but with heavy turtle shells on their back, while he leaves to go run an errand. He asks Launch to keep the place safe while he's gone. He believes he'll be gone for only a few days. His students ask where he's going, and he replies that he is going on the hunt for a new, limited edition Beach Girls magazine. This was a lie. In reality, Roshi heads to the land of Korin. When he arrives, the Koringa tribe recognizes him as that one man who was able to climb their tower so long ago. Piccolo allows Roshi to climb the tower, but on the condition that he stays away from his wife. It took her over a year to recover from reading his mind. Roshi climbs the tower once again, and after catching up with Korin, he climbs up the power pole in order to reach the lookout. Once he's on the lookout, Roshi seeks an audience with God. Kami appears before him and congratulates him on following up on the journey he started so many years ago. Kami states that he'll grant him one request as he raises his eyebrows. I'll have you know I won't do any requests like the last one you asked me to do.
Huh? Wait, no, I would never!
Should I push him off the lookout like I did last time? No, he almost died from that. Let's hear him out. Roshi pleads to Kami, begging him to fight his students. Kami asks why he'd want this, and Roshi explains that they need to learn that there are more powerful people out there in the world. They must seek to train and better themselves. He believes that, although Yamcha and Krillin would probably lose in the upcoming tournament, he sincerely doubts
any martial artist will be able to defeat Goku. Kami smiles as he says that he'll honor Roshi's request by joining the Tenkaichi Budokai. Reassured, Roshi leaves, but not before Kami asks if he'll return one day. Roshi smiles and says he will. He'll train here in order to surpass Goku, but not before he finishes training his other students first. With one last goodbye, Roshi calls over baby Gamera as he begins his long journey home. Several more months passed as the day of the World Martial Arts Tournament had arrived. Goku wakes up a little late and he gets really upset when Mutaito tells him that the tournament registration will close in a few minutes. Mutaito asks Goku if he's prepared to take the most grueling, taxing journey of his life. Goku nods with fierce determination in his eyes. With that, Mutaito smiles as he walks with Goku out of the dojo, down the street, and turning a corner before they arrive at the tournament grounds. As it turns out, Mutaito's dojo and the World Tournament Arena were on the same island. Goku registers for the tournament as he meets up with Yamcha, Roshi, Krillin, War, Ader, Bulma, and Launch. However, there was another mysterious man he didn't recognize. The stranger introduces himself as Hiro, an old friend of Roshi's. Krillin and Yamcha tell Goku that they think Hiro might be really tough. However, Goku looks at Hiro blankly for a while. He swears that he smells a little familiar, but a sweating Hiro reassures him that they've never met before. In reality, Hiro was none other than Kami. Using his shape-shifting abilities, he had disguised himself as his former human alias of Detective John he once used many years ago. Hiro and the rest wish the boys luck as they enter the tournament grounds. However, Roshi pulls Goku aside, handing him a brand new Turtle School gi. Goku is delighted to receive the gift, hugging Roshi as he starts to take off his old Training Academy gi, changing clothes in the middle of the crowd. And with that, Goku waves goodbye as he, Yamcha, and Krillin go through their preliminary matches. As expected, the Turtle School students breeze through their initial matches. No one was surprised that the three would make it to the top 8 spots of the tournament. The lineup of fighters consists of Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, Nam, Girin, Bacterian, Ronfan, and Hiro. For the first match between Girin and Goku, the Lizard Man thinks this will be an easy win. However, this match is even more one-sided than it was in the original story. When Girin unleashes his pink gum technique, Goku is able to easily dodge it. The monkey boy uses his tail to pick up the massive Girin and knock him off the ring. Krillin still defeats Bacterian, and Nam still defeats Ronfan. No big changes there. It's now time for Yamcha versus Hiro. Yamcha doesn't know who this man is, but he understands that he's a foe he shouldn't take lightly. After all, he's an old friend of his master. Hiro, just like Kami did in the original story, pretends to be a coward and meekly attempts to dodge and punch Yamcha. However, he's able to clumsily dodge all of Yamcha's hits and counterattack in a goofy fashion. Realizing that Hiro is indeed a powerful opponent, he unleashes all of his attacks and techniques. Even with all of his additional training, utilizing his improved Wolf Fang Fist along with his brand new Gale Claws attack, it doesn't work on Hiro. In a final desperation move, Yamcha attempts to use the Kamehameha technique, but he's unable to control it. Hiro realizes that Yamcha won't be able to handle the technique, and before he's able to unleash it, Hiro quickly appears behind Yamcha and karate chops his neck. Yamcha is immediately knocked out cold as Hiro wins the match. Krillin is nervous to be facing such a powerful martial artist, while Goku is excited to fight him, although he does wonder again why this guy seems familiar. Goku fights Nam and defeats him with relative ease. Soon enough, Krillin faces off against Hiro. Krillin tries his best to stand up to Kami. At the beginning of the match, Krillin is very scared and nervous, but Goku shouts at him to not give up.
which gives Krillin the confidence he needs. He briefly exchanges blows with Hero, as Hero thinks to himself that Roshi has trained some truly talented kids. Krillin is able to land a single punch on Hero, who didn't expect it, as Krillin asks Hero to take this fight seriously. Hero obliges by using more of his strength and speed. Krillin is starting to get overwhelmed when he attempts to launch a counterattack. Using an afterimage, he seemingly kicks Hero out of bounds. However, when Krillin peeks over at the grass, he doesn't see Hero. In reality, he had turned both invisible and intangible. Hero flies back onto stage with a smile on his face. Hero yells, "Behind you!" as he simply pushes Krillin off the ring, earning him the win. Everyone in the audience is flabbergasted. Even Roshi is unable to tell what happened. However, Goku was able to catch a glimpse of Hero seemingly disappearing and reappearing behind Krillin in an instant. It's time for the finals. Goku versus Hero. The battle is long and intense. Goku utilizes all the techniques, strength, and agility he's developed over the past few years in this battle. Goku reveals that he knows not only the Kamehameha, but he knows some other powerful techniques such as the Sleepy Boy technique and the Electric Shock Surprise. However, Hero is able to not only dodge most of his attacks, but he's able to tank any attacks he chooses to let Goku land. Goku wonders how the Sleepy Boy didn't work despite Hero looking at him. In reality, this is because Hero was looking at Goku in infrared vision, thereby making sure he doesn't look directly at Goku's hands. At one point, Goku states that he's going to go all out as he takes off his gi. Goku grits his teeth as he bulks up immensely, shocking everyone watching. With this form, Goku is able to deal much more damage to Hero. Additionally, Goku is still able to move fast as he did earlier, which impresses Roshi immensely. Roshi thinks to himself that he truly raised an exceptional martial artist, one that was able to surpass him in every way. While in his full power mode, Goku is able to access every ounce of strength stored in his body. Additionally, this form allows Goku to use his techniques to their full potential. This form is truly Goku going all out. Despite this, Hero is still able to keep up. While Hero is initially taken aback by the form, he's able to quickly adjust to Goku's power, which frustrates the young Saiyan. Goku attempts to lock Hero down in a bear hug, but Hero is able to use his intangibility to get out of Goku's grip. However, Goku was expecting this and manages to land a clean hit on Hero when he becomes tangible, which surprises him. It is now the final act of the battle. Goku yells out that he's putting everything he's got into this next attack. The muscular boy spreads his legs, swirling his hands as he prepares his stance. Goku charges a max power original Kamehameha. Roshi, Mutaito, and even Hero are shocked once again. Roshi begins to tear up. Goku was mimicking the stance of his master. All these years, Goku was paying close attention to him. This was his way of honoring his master and the Turtle School. Hero thinks to himself that Goku has continued to blow away every expectation he had of him. In all his years being on this planet, he's never faced an Earthling with this kind of power before. Goku warns Hero that, if he doesn't give up, he'll be hit with his blast. Hero confidently states that he'll take the attack head on. Goku fires the Kamehameha as Hero takes off his glasses. His pupils turn bright red as enormous red beams burst out of his eyes. This isn't regular heat vision. This is heat vision amplified with ki. The blue and red beams clash in a brilliant display. The two fighters push their beams back and forth as the arena around them begins to shake. Eventually, the beams explode as smoke fills the arena. As the smoke dissipates, Hero is still standing with only small sweat beads falling from his face. In contrast, Goku is on his knees in his base form. Goku is panting and shaking from exhaustion. Hiro tells Goku that he's an incredibly talented martial artist who has shattered the walls of normal martial arts. He tells Goku that this was the best fight he's had in a long time. He asks Goku to please forfeit so that he can get some medical attention. Just as Goku is about to give up, he stops. He had looked up at the night sky and noticed the full moon. Hiro realizes, to his horror, what's about to happen as Goku transforms into an Ozaru. Everyone in the audience, minus Goku's friends, Roshi and Mutaito, leave in a panic as Hiro sees what he has to do. He jumps up, almost appearing to be flying, as Hiro, without holding back, lands a single punch to the Ozaru's gut. The Ozaru is completely immobilized as he falls backwards. The monster is knocked out cold. Hiro gets back on the ring as he asks the referee if this counts as a ring out. The referee agrees, as he declares Goku to be out of bounds, winning Hiro the match. Bulma and the gang gather around the unconscious giant monkey, pondering on what exactly happened to Goku. Hiro comes forward and reveals to the gang that Goku is not from this world. Hiro explains that he's Kami, which doesn't really surprise anyone, and that Goku is an alien from another world with the ability to turn into a giant monkey upon seeing the full moon. This does surprise everyone. Hiro pulls out Goku's tail to ensure that he won't turn into this monster again for a while. In a single moment, Goku reverts back to his normal self. Additionally, Hiro gives the prize money to Roshi, stating that he deserves this for raising such fantastic students. He only has one request.
Please don't tell Goku about my true identity. He needs to understand that there are more than gods out there stronger than him. I hope he continues training hard. Maybe one day, he might be able to surpass me.
Hiro bids everyone farewell as he flies off into the sky, shocking everyone watching. The audience cries out in jubilation. The ghost of the legendary detective John Jones had saved the day. That same night, Goku and friends celebrate as they eat at a restaurant. Unfortunately, Goku ate too much and Roshi had to pay the enormous bill with his tournament reward. Goku and everyone else is amazed at the abilities that Hiro could do, as Goku asks Roshi if he knows about Hiro. Roshi, flustered and trying to avoid the question, nervously tells Goku that he should ask his sister, fortune teller Baba, instead. Roshi reveals that she's a witch who has much knowledge about the world, so Goku, excited once again, tells everyone that he wants to see her as soon as possible. Roshi sighs a breath of relief as everyone laughs, their laughter ringing out into the night sky. God has left us. After disguising himself as a human, the one and only Kami joined the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai. Under the alias of Hiro, Kami swept through the tournaments with ease. After an exciting battle with Goku, Kami defeated him in the final round, becoming the world's greatest martial artist. With his mission accomplished, Kami flies away, amazing the crowd. Goku wonders how Hiro was so strong, and Roshi tells him to ask his sister, the fortune teller Baba. Excited, Goku and his friends are ready to start another adventure. Yet, a dark presence looms over the horizon. Will Goku learn the truth about God? Or will the devil make himself known? Find out now. A dark premonition. What if Martians were in Dragon Ball? Part 5. Soon after the end of the World Tournament, Goku and his friends prepare for their journey. Their new mission? Finding the old crone fortune teller Baba, and learning the truth behind the mysterious yet powerful fighter known as Hiro. In no time at all, Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, Puar, Bulma, and Ader embark on a massive plane. They travel beyond the cities and dive into the heart of a massive desert
until they spot a brilliant oasis. Near the edge of the oasis were several buildings and an arena. This must be where the old crone lives. They touch down nearby as they enter the opening gate. The Z Fighters are led inside by a ghost usher as they meet Baba for the very first time. They request a vision as Baba happily accepts for the low price of 10 million zenny. The entire group is shocked to hear about this utterly ridiculous fee they can't afford. Baba offers them another choice. Instead, they can get a vision for free if they defeat her monstrous minions in a tournament. Goku, Krillin, and Yamcha are excited about the prospect of fighting strong opponents. Ader mentions that it would be a lot easier if they just take the initial offer. Bulma sighs, offering to pay with her credit card, but Goku tells her it's fine, they want to fight. With a mischievous cackle, Baba and her ghost usher them towards the arena. For the first match, Krillin is pitted against Fangs, the boxing vampire. Krillin and the rest of the gang are shocked to see a vampire in the flesh. They thought those creatures were only a myth. Goku doesn't seem to be fazed, wondering why the guy looks so pale. The match commences and Krillin does a spectacular job, using his quick reflexes to outmaneuver the vampire. Even when Fangs turns into a bat, Krillin is able to catch up to him and grab the creature. However, Fangs turns back to normal as he bites Krillin on the head. Krillin's blood is sucked out, and before he even realizes it, he passes out from blood loss. Fangs is the winner. As Krillin is given a quick blood transfusion, Baba snickers as she asks who else will be coming up next. Yamcha offers to go, but Ader puts his hand on his shoulder. No, he will be the one to avenge Krillin. Bulma mentions that Krillin isn't dead, but it seems Ader didn't listen to her. He was already way too mad to think properly. Ader enters the arena. As Baba mentions that a large, scary guy like him could be a great addition to her team of monsters. The battle commences as Fangs attempts to punch Ader. The hit connects as the vampire yelps in pain. His fist nearly shattered on impact. What the hell was this guy wearing? Ader tells Fangs that he has no chance of hurting him as Fangs grits his teeth. He attempts to latch onto Ader's head as he laughs. If he doesn't give up now, he's going to lose all of his blood, just like his little friend. Ader informs him that this is a really bad idea, as Fangs opens his mouth, his sharp teeth exposed and glistening as he bites down. A loud crack is heard, followed by a terrifying scream. Fang's teeth had shattered into a million pieces. As Fangs rubs his face and attempts to pick up his broken teeth, Ader punches him into the oasis. The vampire was knocked out of bounds. Ader had won! The gang rejoices while Baba looks on in disbelief. No matter, Fangs wasn't even her strongest soldier. Baba brings out her next contestant, but no one seems to enter the arena. Was this an out-of-season's April Fool's joke? Suddenly, Ader steps to the side as he grabs onto something in midair. A loud shriek is heard as Baba looks on in shock. How was this fool able to see the invisible man? Ader points to his head and reveals that his sensors and infrared vision were able to detect this fighter clear as day. With no effort at all, Ader tosses the invisible man straight into the water. Ader had won again in record time. Baba declares that the next match will take place in a new arena. The Z Fighters enter the Witch's Palace, where they enter a room with 2 demon statues and a massive pit of acid. This was the Devil's Bathroom, and the site of their third battle. Ader carefully steps onto the stone demon's tongue as he stands face to face with Bandages the Mummy. The battle commences, and this time, the android has a much harder time. Although both Ader and the mummy are large and powerful, Bandages has more experience as a fighter, and he's much quicker. In contrast, Ader is frightened of the acid below, as he tries his best to not move around too much. Bandages takes advantage of this weakness as he wraps some of his bandages around Ader's legs. Before the robot knows what happened, he is pulled off his feet and sent to the edge of the statue. Ader falls off, and Bulma cries out, he's going to be melted! Ader closes his eyes, not wanting to see what happens next. However, in a blink of an eye, he finds himself back on stage. The audience was dumbfounded by what they saw. Ader was rescued by Goku. Ader loses the match as he had been knocked out of bounds, but Goku tells him he did a great job. Now, it was his turn. Baba yells at Bandages to be careful as he stays on guard. Yet, it's Yamcha that appears on stage as he requests Goku to let him go next. Goku smiles as he relents. This guy didn't seem so tough anyways. Bandages is insulted, but he merely laughs. Now that this kid was gone, this match would be a breeze. The mummy disappears as he starts to run around the arena with his incredible speed. The monster launches a right hook, but Yamcha turns around to block the hit. Baba's eyes widened. This punk was able to keep up with Bandage's speed. Due to his extensive training with Roshi, and with Krillin motivating him as a rival, Yamcha is much stronger and skilled than in the original story. In this battle, Yamcha is able to outmaneuver Bandages and surprise him with techniques such as the Wolf Fang Fist, Gale Claws, and his first successful Kamehameha. Bandages is blasted away, barely managing to hang on to the demon statue as he forfeits the match. Yamcha had won. There's no time to celebrate, however, as the next contestant is already entering the arena. A pale man with a devil suit, a pitchfork, and a sinister smile. The next match is Yamcha versus Devilman, and it's pretty one-sided. Although Yamcha is much stronger in this timeline, Devilman is still far too much for him. His strength, speed, tactics, and ability to fly overwhelms Yamcha. Devilman scares Yamcha by revealing that he has a devilish technique that can rupture hearts. As Devilman puts his fingers to his forehead and begins charging his ki, Yamcha's stomach drops. He was serious. He was going to kill him. Terrified for his life, Yamcha forfeits the match. Bulma chastises him for quitting, but the rest of the gang reassure him that he made the right decision. Ader apologizes, stating that since he doesn't have a heart, he might have had a chance against Devilman. Goku finally steps up, eager to fight. Devilman is confident that he's defeated their strongest fighter, but he was in for a rude awakening. Unlike the original story, Goku is much stronger and skilled, resulting in an even bigger beatdown than expected. In an act of desperation, Devilman uses his Devil Might Beam, and, just like in the original story, it has no effect on Goku. At that point, Goku capitalizes on Devilman's shock with his very own Thunder Shock surprise. He then knocks him across the arena, winning him the match. The gang celebrates as Bulma tells the witch to cough up her fortune, but Baba merely smirks in response. The tournament wasn't over yet. She still had one more fighter under her sleeve, someone that was far more skilled than even her Devilman. Baba escorts the group back outside to the open arena, where they see a mysterious old man wearing a mask. Bulma and Krillin look on in confusion, but Goku looks rather glad. This man smelled very nice, and familiar too. It was now time for the final battle between Goku and the mysterious masked man. due to the fact that Goku is stronger in this version of events, and more importantly, doesn't have a tail, Gohan has to resort to going all out. This includes using every technique under his disposal, such as the Drunken Fist and Sleepy Boy technique. However, Goku is already very well versed in these techniques and knows exactly how to counter them. As the battle goes on, Goku is able to recognize this familiar scent and techniques. No, it was impossible. It couldn't be who he thought it was. It didn't matter at the moment. He had a fight to win. The masked fighter compliments Goku and his strength, but he knows he's holding back. As a final request, could he humor this old man and unleash his full power? If he does, then he'd go all out as well. Goku obliges by going max full power as the masked fighter proceeds to do the same, causing his shirt to rip apart. Goku and the masked man unleash their Kamehamehas as they have a giant beam clash. In the end, Goku is able to overpower his opponent as the masked man is blasted away, earning him the win. The masked fighter congratulates the young boy as he takes off his mask, revealing himself to be none other than Grandpa Gohan. Goku cries profusely as he hugs him. He missed him so much. He thought he was dead. Gohan chuckles as he states nonchalantly that he was dead. It was merely because of Baba's permission and her magic that he could come back for a single day to see Goku's growth with his own eyes. And he was astounded. He had no clue he had become so strong. Not only that, he found himself a loyal, kind group of friends. Goku really has come a long way from that little boy he used to know. Baba approaches Goku and tells him that he'll be able to receive his vision. As Goku is about to make his request, several helicopters and Humvees arrive at the scene. Emblazoned on these machines was a flag with two large R's. Out of one of the helicopters descends an elderly man with a pink martial arts garb and a young blonde man in a military uniform. Their names were Mercenary Tao and General Blue. The mercenaries approach Baba and demand that she comply with the army and help them with their mission. She refuses, stating that they need to wait a little while longer before they can enter her tournament, as one was just completed. They don't take no for an answer, as the general snaps his fingers. Dozens of soldiers exit the vehicles, their guns and missile launchers pointing at the old crone. Without any hesitation, General Blue orders his men to attack. Baba's fighters and Goku friends get in their battle stances, blitzing through the soldiers and their weapons. The regular soldiers weren't an issue, but Tao and Blue were another story. All the monsters, Gohan, Goku, and his friends were either too weak or too tired to deal with both Tao and Blue. Blue's telekinesis and Tao's precise, devastating attacks made for a deadly combo. Devilman even tries to use his Devil Might Beam, but Tao uses Goku as a shield before tossing him at the devil. One by one, the heroes fall until all that's left is Goku and Gohan. As the Red Ribbon Army closes in on the pair, Baba blurts out that they don't have to do this. They could have just paid her. Blue places his hands on his forehead, suddenly remembering that they came to pay her in the first place. Everyone falls down flat on their faces. Blue soldiers hand over briefcases filled with Zenny as Baba gives them her vision. She asks the two what they want, as Tao requests where they can find God. Baba says that to find Kami, they must climb Korin's tower over at the land of Korin. The Red Ribbon Army prepares to depart, leaving behind the defeated heroes and monsters. Tao considers killing everyone here, but Blue tells him that killing these children is not part of the mission. Tao says fine. but asks if he can kill the monsters instead. Baba tells him to not even bother because they're undead anyways. The army leaves, heading off to their next conquest. Baba heals everyone that was harmed in the attack as Goku picks his grandpa back up. The gang realizes that the Kuringa tribe is in great danger as Goku gets on the flying Nimbus, but Gohan interjects, asking if he can come too. Gohan can't ride it unfortunately, but he's able to hang on to Goku as they both fly beyond the desert. Soon enough, Goku and Gohan arrive at the land of Korin as they see that the peaceful land has become a war zone. The Kuringa tribe is trying their very best to hold off the enormous amounts of soldiers and robots, along with Tao and Blue. Piccolo orders his family to protect the tribe and to not kill anyone as part of their vows as guardians. Goku and Gohan jump off the Nimbus to assist as they join Piccolo's family in holding off the army. Piccolo and his sons are glad to see Goku come back to help in their time of need. As they start to finally push back against the army, Tao realizes that they have no chance of defeating the tribe, as he orders Blue to incapacitate one of the weaker tribesmen to hold hostage. Blue looks around frantically to find someone young or elderly, noticing Flute. The general smirks as he uses his telekinesis on Flute, but it somehow fails. Blue can't believe it. This has never happened before. Despite the fact they were losing, the army refused to give up. They decline to negotiate even when the village chief Piccolo himself tries to. Surely they must know they cannot win. However, the army was stubborn. They demand to see God and have their prayers answered. Piccolo is worried about what kind of wish these evil men have in mind. Clearly, it's nothing good. What's more, humans were able to somehow unlock the ability to use telekinesis, something reserved to only his race. Did Kami have anything to do with this? Would Kami actually answer their desires? No, it can't be. Kami would never do that. Yet, this Red Ribbon Army was now aware of the Kuringa tribe. Even if they retreat peacefully now, what's to stop them from returning in the future? Should he just end them right now? As Piccolo continues to struggle with his thoughts, Tao sweats nervously. Realizing that they're screwed anyways, Tao shoots a Dodon Paw right at Flute. If he manages to wound one of their people, perhaps that would give the army an opportunity to escape. Flute manages to dodge the attack, but the blast strikes her hut, setting it aflame. Flute cries out in agony as Piccolo and his children realize what's happening. Yet, once they approach the tent, they stop. They simply stand there, watching on in horror and disbelief as Flute continues to scream. Goku asks what's happening, as Gohan realizes that these flames seem to be weakening Piccolo's family. Somehow, some way. Piccolo yells at Goku to do something, as Gohan quickly reacts, releasing a Ki that smothers the flames. Unfortunately, it was too late. As Piccolo tears the hut apart, he finds the burned remains of Flute, his precious wife, his partner in life, the mother of his children, the center of their family's universe. For a moment, silence and dread fills the air as Goku, Gohan, Tao, and the rest of the army stare at the grieving family. Gathering around the body of Flute, the Piccolo family mourns. And then, it happens. The forest starts to shake as birds fly off into the sky. The deer and squirrels run away in fright. They knew something awful was about to happen. Piccolo and his sons look up to face Tao as their skin starts to bubble. Their faces of pure despair start to morph as their expressions switch to one of utter wrath. Goku, Gohan, Bora, Upa, and the Red Ribbon Army look on in absolute terror at what they're seeing. Every fiber of their being was telling them to run. The peaceful Kuringa tribe was no more. Their rage pushed Piccolo and his sons to shapeshift back into their true white Martian forms, with their eyes glowing red.
You animals! You killed her! We'll tear the flesh from your bones!
God didn't care. After Goku and his friends conquered Baba's tournament, they were ready to have their vision granted. Unfortunately for our heroes, they were attacked by the vile Red Ribbon Army. Their goal was to discover the location of Korin's tower. With their vision granted, the army retreated as Goku and Grandpa Gohan gave chase. The Kuringa tribe valiantly fought off the army, but in a tragic turn of events, the shaman known as Flute dies in the invasion. Her husband and children mourn her loss as they give in to their grief. Terrifying new foes emerge from the ashes of war. Will Goku and his friends possibly survive against these forces of nature? Find out now. Prayers left unanswered. The invasion begins. What if Martians were in Dragon Ball? Part 6. Deep within the clouds, Popo looks over the lookout with a fearful expression on his face. He turns to face his friend, Kami, the guardian of Earth, asking if he feels their soaring power, their rising bloodlust. Kami, the hero once known as John Jones, nods nervously as a sweat bead falls across his face. He had sensed their overwhelming anger and power the moment they erupted. Whatever was going on down there was clearly not good. However, the question left to answer now is whether or not he should intervene. Back down in the mortal plane, Goku, Grandpa Gohan, and the rest of the Red Ribbon Army look on in terror as they witness something horrifying. The once peaceful defenders of the Kuringa tribe were transforming into large, vicious aliens. Upon seeing the death of Flute, the mother and pillar of their family, Piccolo and his sons were overwhelmed with grief. Their rage had overtaken them as they revealed their true white Martian forms. Yet, there was one exception. Chyme, the youngest child and only daughter of Piccolo and Flute, remained in her human form as she continued to cry out in despair. Standing face to face with these snarling monsters, Tao panics as he orders his men to fire their weapons. Without hesitation, the Red Ribbon Army attacks with full force. Their gunfire and missiles strike the Martian family head-on with no hesitation. General Blue gloats that nothing can stop the might of the Red Ribbon Army, but he is cut off by Tao as he yells that they have to run now. Blue doesn't think even those freaks could handle that salvo of attacks, but before he can even retort, a flash emerges from the nearby dust cloud. Something resembling a tentacle shot out from it, striking Blue as he was immediately decapitated. Tao and the rest of the army scream in terror as the dust dissipates, revealing that the White Martians were completely unharmed. What happens next can only be described as a massacre. Within seconds, the White Martians were blitzing through the army as they killed every single soldier they saw. One by one, the army fell. No matter what they did, they couldn't fight back against these aliens. Their pleas fell onto deaf ears as they were slain. Not even the rest of the Kuringa tribe were spared. So angered and lost were the White Martians that they even attacked their fellow tribesmen. Enemies? Friends? It didn't matter. They were humans. They would all suffer for what they did to Flute. Goku was looking on in complete shock, unable to move at the sight of this carnage. Thankfully, Grandpa Gohan grabs his grandson's shoulders as he shakes him back to reality. He yells at Goku, they need to get out of here. The longer they stay, the more likely they'd get attacked too. And they can't do anything against these monsters. They are far more powerful than either of them. Goku retorts that they aren't monsters. He knew those guys. That was Piccolo and his kids. They were his friends. But they were so angry. They were killing all these people. Even the other members of the Kuringa tribe. They did nothing to deserve this awful fate. Goku yells out that they have to save the tribe. Gohan gulps as he nods. He'd do his best. As the Martians continue their rampage, Bora and Upa try to beseech Piccolo and his sons. What were they doing? This wasn't self-defense or protection of the sacred tower. They were killing for the sake of killing. They were massacring their own people. Upa cries out with tears in his eyes as he pleads to his friends, his family, to stop. Tambourine and Trombone turn to face Upa, their red eyes still filled with rage as they lunge at the boy, their claws extending out. Bora rushes in to save his son, ready to accept his fate if it means saving his boy. But in a flash, Goku and Gohan manage to grab onto the father and son as they jump out of harm's way. Goku and Gohan barely manage to dodge the attacks, thinking to themselves that if the Martians weren't out of control and just focused on their strikes, they'd be done for. Upa and Bora continue to scream to the Martian family, begging them to stop the killing. As the Red Ribbon Army and the Kuringa tribe whittle down in numbers, the Berserkers approach the wounded mercenary Tao Pai Pai. The assassin knew that pleading for his life wouldn't work, throwing a grenade straight at the aliens. However, the grenade does 0 damage as Piccolo prepares to fire deadly lasers from his eyes. As Piccolo prepares to destroy Tao, a single figure appears in front of the Crane Master. Standing in front of Tao with her arms out was Chyme. The Martian family was shocked at what they were seeing as Piccolo shouts with indignation. The Patriarch demanded to know what the hell Chyme was doing. Didn't she see what they saw? This man killed her mother in cold blood. Why was she defending this demon? Tears fall from Chyme's face as she screams at her family to look around. The only demon species around here are them. Is this what Mom would have wanted? For the family she loved so much to be barbaric butchers? The Martian family argues with Chyme, yelling at her to back off. How dare she use the name of their mother in vain? Piccolo retorts that he's enraged at these measly humans for taking away the love of his life. Not only this cowardly army, but his so-called tribe as well. All these years of loyalty to the Kuringa tribe, and none of them tried to do anything to save Flute as she burned. If they were caught in the crossfire of their revenge, then so be it. As Chyme continues to try and talk down her family, Tao attempts to quietly sneak away and retreat from the forest. He wasn't getting paid enough to deal with these freaks. Piccolo realizes that the mercenary is trying to escape as he leaps at Tao. He wouldn't allow him to get away from him. Chyme yells out a panicked no, but from up in the clouds, a sonic boom tore the sky apart as Kami, the guardian of Earth, appeared before Piccolo. Stand down, my friend. You need not bloody your hands anymore.
Kami, what the hell do you think you're doing?
Goku was surprised to hear that Piccolo and Kami know each other. What was going on here? Piccolo demands to know why Kami is allowing that murderer to walk away with his life without facing any retribution. What about his wife? With a stern tone, Kami implores Piccolo to look around. What about all these people? Would they not have retribution for being murdered in cold blood? Enraged, Piccolo barks back with vicious fury. Where was Kami when the army invaded? Where was Kami when his wife died? Kami stays silent for a moment, apologizing as he tries to remain calm. His sacred duty as guardian prevented him from interfering until now. This brazen statement angers Piccolo even more, his veins bulging and his eyes flashing an even brighter crimson hue.
You bastard! You promised to keep my family safe! You gave me your word!
And at the moment it mattered the most, when we truly needed you, you chose to forsake us. Keep your putrid apologies. Your words ring empty and hollow. What's the point of a god if they don't even answer your prayers? Piccolo,
Not another word. Just leave us alone. Get out!
Kami sighs as he sends a mental message to Gohan and Goku to take Bora and Dupa far away from here. That mercenary was long gone now. It was best to let Piccolo and his family mourn. For now, without much left as a choice, Goku and Gohan nod as they take the crying Upa and beaten Bora with them on the flying Nimbus. They would head off to Kame House. As Piccolo and his sons gather the remains of Flute, Kami can see the tearful eyes of Chyme. The little girl was so brave as to stand up to her own family for what she believed was right. For her mother's memory. Kami can only look on with a pained expression full of misery and guilt before disappearing back into the clouds. Later that same day, Piccolo and his family bury Flute in a ceremonial burial, not in the tradition of the Kuringa tribe, but in honor of their heritage as white Martians. Piccolo laments that Flute must be buried in this cruel world, far from the gentle sands of their native Mars. For all the good Earth has done to them, it would be Earth that also spelled her doom. At the end of the burial, Piccolo stands before his children, his brave sons and gentle daughter. They were all proof of his love for Flute. They were her legacies. It was only right that they partake in his vengeance. Piccolo beseeches his children once more, requesting that they join him in tracking down the man that murdered Flute and claim their revenge. Tambourine, trombone, and drum enthusiastically agreed, but Chyme didn't. She squeals back that there's nothing to gain from murdering people. Killing that man won't bring their mother back. Did they forget about what they did to the Kuringa tribe? The people they considered to be family too? How many more people had to die for them to be happy? Piccolo and his sons look coldly at Chyme. Her passionate spirit reminded them so much of Flute. They shared the same kind heart. She wouldn't be able to understand their need for retribution. Piccolo warns Chyme that if she doesn't want to fight, she needs to just stay out of their way. Nothing was going to stop them from avenging her mother. It was time to return to their roots. It was time for the White Martians to conquer. Piccolo and his sons fly off into the sky, eager to kill those they viewed as their enemies. Chyme could only stand there and watch as the family she loved so dearly was falling apart. As the White Martians leave to go on their rampage across Earth, Gohan and Goku return to Baba's palace with Bora and Dupa. They try to explain what happened to the best of their abilities, but it was clear that Goku, Upa, and Bora weren't able to talk about what happened without great difficulty. What they saw was so gruesome, they couldn't bring themselves to relive those moments. It was up to Gohan to brief the Z-Fighters on what had happened. Everyone was shocked to hear this tragic turn of events. How could everything have gone so wrong so fast? Gohan implored Bulma to take them all back to Kame House and to pick up Master Mutaito along the way. He had a bad feeling that they were going to need all the help they could get. Bulma nods and, without a moment to spare, she throws out her capsule, which reveals a massive plane. As the heroes board the plane, Baba warns Goku to be careful. His future is a dark and murky road filled with despair. She prays that he finds the will to continue moving forward with a smile. Goku doesn't know what to say, as Gohan thanks her for her efforts as the Z-Fighters fly away. Some time later, the heroes arrive at Kame House with Mutaito in tow. As Bulma and Gohan tell Roshi that they're in trouble, the Turtle Hermit says that he's well aware of how dangerous it is out there. The group doesn't know what he's talking about until Roshi points over to his old rusty television. In breaking news, the reporters on the TV state that a group of white alien invaders have been leaving a trail of death and destruction in their wake. Entire towns and communities had been razed to the ground as the monsters continued their march towards what appears to be the headquarters of the Red Ribbon Army. So lost in their grief and anger, Piccolo's family were now killing innocent people along with Red Ribbon Army soldiers. It didn't matter who they faced, whether they be soldiers or innocents. All they saw were disgusting humans. They were all guilty in their eyes now. The Turtle Hermit says that he's well aware of how dangerous it is out there. The Z-Fighters look at the news in terror and disbelief. Mutaito ordered Roshi that now was as good a time as ever to call in Shen and the Crane School. They need to work together and stop these devils. Roshi sighs as he hesitantly picks up his phone and dials Shen's number. Unfortunately, Shen made sure to block Roshi's number. After getting left with a voicemail, Roshi shrugs his shoulders as he puts away his phone. Well, I tried. You can't say I didn't try. Oh well, who needs Shen anyways? I'm sure we don't need him. The Turtle School should be more than enough to send these guys packing. Upon hearing Roshi's boastful comments, Goku and Gohan recall the frightening powers of the Piccolo family. They were all so powerful and fast. What could they possibly hope to do against them? Their thoughts are interrupted as they hear a knock on the door. Yamcha was confused. Were they expecting any more guests? Roshi gulped. He really hoped it wasn't Shen at the door. Goku goes to answer it as his jaw drops. It was Chyme, one of those Martian guys. With her mind-reading abilities, Chyme had tracked down Goku, who had returned to Kame House. Goku immediately has his guard up, getting into a battle stance as the rest of the fighters do the same. Yet, Gohan tells them all to relax and settle down. He had a feeling that Chyme wasn't here to hurt anyone. Isn't that right? Chyme nods timidly as she breaks out into tears once more. She pleads to everyone that she needs their help. She needs them to stop her family. After letting out her tears and being invited into the house, Roshi gives the girl a cup of tea to calm her nerves. Gohan politely requests that Chyme tell him everything about her family. As she nods, she takes a deep breath as she explains everything she knew. Long ago, before her or her brothers were even born, Her parents lived on planet Mars with the rest of the white Martians. They loved it there, but there was so much social unrest. There was a brutal civil war between the green and white Martians that tore Martian society apart. Unlike most white Martians who reveled in pain and violence, Piccolo and Flute didn't care about conquest. All they cared about was finding a safe place to raise a family. Flute was pregnant with their first child, and they had grown tired of all the war that was surrounding them. Without many supplies or leaving any goodbyes, Piccolo and Flute boarded a spaceship and left Mars for good. Piccolo was aware that there was a nearby planet capable of sustaining life, and that's all he needed to hear to make his decision to leave. After arriving on Earth and landing in a forest with an enormous tower, Piccolo and Flute saw the humans living nearby and decided to shapeshift into their image. They thought that if they assimilated with the people in this forest, they would be able to blend in and live in peace. However, they were approached by none other than a Green Martian, the one they all know as Kami. Chyme's parents were afraid that Kami was going to kill them, or worse. But, surprisingly, Kami spared them. Rather, he promised to let the couple stay on this planet and raise their family in peace. He would make sure to stand watch over them and guard their family under his watchful eye. Piccolo and Flute believed in Kami, and they made sure to become gentle protectors of Corn's Tower as part of their vow. Tambourine was born soon after, followed by Trombone and Drum. They lived together with the Karinga tribe for hundreds of years, maintaining peace and order in the land of Corin. Chyme was the youngest of the family, only 13 years old compared to her brothers, who were many, many decades older. She was so happy to be raised with her tribe. She loved everyone and the nature surrounding her just as much as her family. But now, that was all gone. As Chyme finishes her story, everyone in the room is left stunned. They don't know what to say that could possibly make Chyme feel any better. However, Goku stands up with fierce determination burning in his eyes. The Piccolo he knew was a kind old man who cared a lot about his people. He couldn't let him continue acting like a monster. He vows to beat some sense into him and bring him back to Chyme. Appa and Chyme are surprised to hear such a declaration, but Bora tells Goku that he is only dreaming. None of them have any chance of possibly defeating Piccolo and his sons. They are far stronger than they could possibly imagine. It was now Mutaito's turn to stand up from his seat, announcing that this may not be the case. Martial arts were created to defend themselves against threats that were far stronger than themselves. He may have an idea on how to defeat Piccolo and his children, but he needed time to prepare. The Z Fighters are shocked, yet delighted to hear this. There was finally some semblance of hope. Bulma, ever the realist, asks how much time he needs to get ready as Mutaito shrugs his shoulders. Probably a year? Maybe more? He couldn't say. Hope leaves everyone's eyes again as Chyme shouts out that they don't have that kind of time. Her family were marching on a warpath as they spoke. Yet, Mutaito remains firm. They shouldn't panic though. He knew of a place that would allow him to get an entire year's worth of training in a single day. No one knew what he was talking about, but the elderly masters Roshi and Gohan did. The sacred chamber hidden within God's domain, the room of spirit and time. They had heard of it before, but they never would have imagined that it was actually real. Mutaito requests his former students' assistance in his training, as Gohan and Roshi accept. They would never sit by and let their master defend the world on his own if they had anything to say about it. Goku begs to come along, But Mutaito, in a move that surprises the boy, pats his head.
Nah, it ain't your job to worry about the fate of the world. You and the rest of you's youngsters should stay here where it's safe. This is a job for the grown-ups to fix. Don't worry, kid. We'll be back before you know it.
Goku isn't sure what to think, but Yamcha, Krillin, and Bulma are more than glad to stay behind. Roshi calls down Baby Gamera from the clouds as the martial arts masters prepare to depart. Chyme promises the masters that she would do whatever she could to stall her family so they could have the full 24 hours they needed. Gohan commends Chyme for her immense bravery. It takes untold levels of courage and strength to stand up to the ones you love in order to do the right thing. The masters try to figure out how to all fit on top of Baby Gamera, and after some troubleshooting, they end up laying on each other's lap, with Mutaito as the base, laying on top of the turtle. The masters bid their farewells, as the rest of the Z Fighters wish them luck. However, as Chyme prepares to fly off, Goku shouts at her to stop. She wouldn't go alone. He would go with her. Chyme refuses. He would be really hurt if he tries to fight, or maybe worse. Despite this, Goku refuses to back down. No matter what Chyme, Bulma, or the rest tried to say, Goku was adamant in his decision. He couldn't sit back and let Piccolo and his sons be swallowed by anger and despair. He had to do something. This speech stirs something within the android Aider, who had been remaining silent for a while now. He approaches the pair, demanding that he come too. If Goku was going to fight, then so would he. Chai looked at them and sighed. She didn't have any more time to continue arguing with them. She could just knock them out right here, but honestly, she was scared to face her family alone. And Goku and this robot seemed to be really tough from what she remembered seeing during the trials of the Karinga tribe. Chyme ultimately relents, allowing them to join her. Krillin, Yamcha, and Appa try their best to talk down Goku and Aider one last time, but Bora and Bulma tell them to give it up. They knew that Goku wouldn't change his mind. The only thing they could do now was wish them luck and pray for their success. With a heavy heart, the rest of the Z Fighters say goodbye to Goku and Aider as they get on top of the flying Nimbus. Goku wonders aloud how Chyme was able to even get to this island in the first place, as she giggles. Oh, she just flew here. Chyme lifts off from the ground and levitates in the air, astounding everyone. Goku was excited. He needed to learn how to do that. Without another moment to waste, the trio fly off to face their destinies. Much later, we see Kami standing over the edge of the lookout as he sees the carnage unfolding below in the mortal realm. The White Martians were continuing their rampage across the land. What should he do now? Could he continue to stand here and hope for humanity to fight back against this seemingly unstoppable threat? Would his heart allow him to stay still anymore? Action clearly needed to be taken, but could he bear to break the Guardian's oath he made so long ago? It was at this moment, as Kami was lost deep in thought, that he heard the sounds of what seemed to be a motor engine. Was that a flying turtle? It was the baby Gamera, and on top of the turtle was 3 old wise men spinning back and forth uncontrollably. Kami and Popo looked up to see baby Gamera touch down on the lookout. Before Kami could ask what business these mortals had in his heavenly realm, the 3 ancient masters calmly stepped off their turtle. They walked forward and immediately vomited all over the floor. Popo panics as he dashes towards the lookout to grab a bucket and a mop. Once everyone had finally calmed down and the floors were squeaky clean, Kami looked up and took a good look at these men. Kami recognized them. They were all distinguished fighters who have, at one time or another, climbed Korn's tower to reach him. Kami asked the trio what it is that they want, as Mutaito gets down on his knee. Mutaito bows his head, begging for their god to show mercy and help them in their darkest hour. Kami is silent, a single sweat drop falling from his face. He had a feeling they were going to ask him that. Kami mutters that he does not believe that he would be able to return to Earth and fight the Martians himself. However, the deity is surprised when Mutaito clarifies that they are not here for his help directly.
We ain't counting on you. We need your room. The room of spirit and time. Please, Lord Kami, let us use your time chamber.
Kami stares at them in disbelief. He asks them if they are sure of that request. Surely, they must already know how excruciating and painful it is to simply be in that dimension. They could barely survive simply several moments in that room, let alone years. Were they absolutely sure? Without any hesitation, the three martial arts masters nod in agreement. Kami's mouth hangs open for a moment, processing the immense resolve these men must have to protect their planet. For the first time in many years, John remembers the resolve his father had as the protector of Mars, and he smiles. Kami agrees to grant their wish as he requests Popo to prepare the room with enough supplies for the three. Gohan mentions to Kami that he is actually a departed spirit, but Kami nods. He is well aware of this. He can't exactly hide his halo after all. Gohan questions if he could even enter the room, but Kami responds by placing his hand out and empowering Gohan with a strange green glow. Kami had used his own magic to reinforce Baba's spell. He would be able to spend an entire year within the time chamber with no issues. Besides, if Baba or even King Yema himself had any issues with this, they could bring it up with him. The three masters bow respectfully to Kami, as soon they are led inside to the doors of the chamber. It was time to begin their training. Kami bid them luck as the doors to the chamber shut behind them. While the masters are training, Chyme, Goku, and Ader continue their flight to catch up to the enraged Martian family. Ader knew the coordinates for the army's headquarters, but it wasn't exactly hard to track them down. All they had to do is continue along the path of destruction. Goku had to cover his nose. The overwhelming smell of fire and death was almost too much to bear. They make their way to the Red Ribbon Army headquarters, where they finally see the White Martians easily dispatching waves of soldiers and robots. Goku, Ader, and Chyme arrive to assist a weakened Tao, General Violet, General Silver, and General Black, who is now in his giant battle jacket mech. Piccolo and his children are outraged at the sight of Chyme and Goku choosing to side with these murderers over their own friends and family. Chyme reiterates her pleas from before. Murdering all these people won't bring back their mother. They had to stop now, while they still can. But just like before, her family refuses to listen. Goku gets into a battle stance as Ader gulps. The army was confused, but the generals didn't care. Even if these were kids, any help against these monsters would be accepted. At this point, maybe they could even serve as a distraction, as they can then run for their lives. Goku and Ader team up with the remaining generals against Tambourine, Cymbal, and Drum, while Chyme tries to calm down her father. However, the children were conflicted. Despite everything they had done, a part of them still respected and cared for Goku. They recalled the young boy's skills, strength, and kind hearts. They wouldn't kill him for now. Instead, They focused their efforts in eliminating the army first. In a showcase of power, the three Martians fire laser beams from their eyes, immediately wiping out thousands of soldiers and artillery in a blink of an eye. They had hoped their display of power would convince Goku to run away. Instead, Goku can only shake in excitement and anticipation. Despite how scared he was, he just couldn't help seeing strong guys and get excited. And so, the battle began. Yet, it wasn't truly a battle. It was a beatdown. Although Goku has indeed become more powerful, he still isn't strong enough to face off against the Martians. They beat him down relentlessly. Despite how skilled and powerful Goku is in this story compared to canon, it meant absolutely nothing to the absolute power of the Martians. Not only were they unfathomably strong, they could easily read the boy's mind to know his next move. Their intangibility, flight, and other bizarre and unknown Martian techniques put Goku in the absolute worst circumstances. Ader attempted to help, but he was absolutely no match for any of the Martians either. It got so bad that at one point, one of his arms shattered upon contact with Trombone. The situation was not looking good. However, things weren't quite as bleak as they seemed. Suddenly, Goku hears something familiar that he remembers hearing not so long ago. It was a loud, approaching noise. It was Bulma's ship! As Krillin and Yamcha descended from the clouds high above him, Goku and Ader smiled brightly. They were glad to see their friends again. Krillin and Yamcha suddenly arrived to offer their help. They couldn't stand remaining behind knowing that Goku, Ader, and their masters were out there risking their lives. Knowing that they wouldn't be able to help much, they came anyway. Yet, what could they possibly do? Not only were they severely outmatched, but many of the army's troops and robots had been decimated. The brothers give Goku one last chance for him and his friends to just get out of here as fast as they can. This would be their one and only warning. If they attempted to fight back again and protect these horrible, disgusting excuses of waste known as the Red Ribbon Army, they would show no mercy. The remaining generals and Tao were stricken with fear. They were unable to move from the immense pressure radiating from the Martians. Goku himself, despite his battered body and immense injuries, still attempted to stand back up. He was delirious. He could barely keep himself awake, but he had to fight. He had to! If only they had just a little bit more power. Just a little bit! They could turn the tides. Surely they could! This is when Yamcha has an idea. Without warning, he spits on Krillin's head, wipes it with his sleeve, and immediately asks an injured Goku to look. Goku doesn't know what he means, but he does it anyways, looking toward Krillin's shiny forehead. In his delirium, he actually mistakes it for the moon. His lips clench, his body stiffens, his eyes turn white, and in front of the Red Ribbon Army's remains, his friends, and the enemy invaders, Goku transforms into a mighty Ozaru. Yamcha is amazed that Goku was able to move around like that, despite how injured he was a moment ago. Did his transformations heal him? Or was he just so pumped full of adrenaline and anger, he didn't care about his injuries? No time to question that now. Yamcha, Krillin, and Ader had to focus on not getting stomped on and survive this giant, rampaging monkey. As a mighty great ape, Goku was able to attract the brothers' attention and put up a much stronger fight. The remaining army generals, Yamcha, Ader, and Krillin used this time wisely and regroup. Together with Ozaru Goku, they launch all their special attacks at the Martians. Dodonpas, Kamehamehas, concentrated gunfire, and a gigantic missile of death. Yet, they couldn't manage to leave a single mark. Deciding that it was no longer time to play with their food anymore, Tambourine swiftly kills Colonel Violet and Silver in a brutal display of power. as Drum fires a mouth blast straight through Officer Black's battle jacket. In a single moment, the giant machine erupts in a massive fireball. Only one Martian would be needed to keep Ozaru Goku busy. Tao is caught in the battle jacket's explosion, on the verge of death, as Tambourine and Drum laugh with jubilation at their mother's killer. Meanwhile, Chyme continues her efforts to hold back her father, with zero success. Piccolo was becoming even more irate at his daughter's perceived disrespect. He needed to discipline her for siding with those savage humans. He notices movement nearby as he stomps the ground, creating an earthquake that tears the remains of the Red Ribbon HQ apart. Chyme notices a part of the castle is crumbling, swooping in and saving an old man from being crushed. As she manages to drop off the stranger, she is immediately struck in the back by a punch from her father. The attack caught her off guard, and the force left her on the ground, completely winded as she coughed out blood. At the same time, Drum decides to end the Ozaru's tantrum once and for all, blasting its lower half with a barrage of ki blast that completely burns off the monkey's tail. The Ozaru is defeated as Goku de-transforms before falling to the rubble below. Krillin, Yamcha, and Ada try their best to defend Goku from the Martians, but their efforts are wasted as they are easily swept aside like ants in a storm. Chyme is incapacitated, the army is decimated, the Z fighters are defeated, and Goku is naked and unconscious on the floor. Just when it seems that all hope is lost, a loud blip is heard. The Masters had arrived as Kami and Popo teleport them there with their trusty flying carpet. Piccolo's face distorts in one of pain and anger. He lashes out against Kami for showing his face around him again. Had he already forgotten what happened at the land of Korin? He has failed to keep his promise yet again, asking the deity if he's dumb enough to try and stop him. Kami sighs and states that it's not a Guardian's job to interfere with the affairs of Earth. Instead, it'll be this planet's martial artists who will save it from their fury. Piccolo laughs, commenting that it'd be completely useless. What could these insignificant worms possibly do against him and his rage? Kami extends out his hand, ordering his students to attack. To defeat the Martians, the three martial artists spent an entire year developing techniques in the time chamber. Gohan thought of expanding the power of the Kamehameha to include eliminating any vestiges of evil, while Roshi pondered if he could develop his senses to the point he could move without thinking. However, the technique they ultimately settled on was Mutaito's sealing technique, the Mafuba. It was a move that could seal anyone away, regardless of their strength. Unfortunately, as they soon discovered, it would come with a great cost. The energy required to seal away anyone as strong as the Martians would surely result in the user's death. Mutaito theorizes that Gohan should be able to use the technique without any repercussions. After all, he was already dead. He was a spirit. He had far more energy than either Mutaito or Roshi. Besides, it's not like he could die again, right? Although Roshi and Mutaito were more than willing to sacrifice themselves for the sake of the Earth, they should at least rely on Gohan first to see if he could seal away the Martians on his own. The plan was set, as Roshi and Mutaito attempt to immobilize or distract the Martians. Gohan would swoop in with the Mafuba and seal them all away in a rice cooker. Popo was upset he had to give away his brand new rice cooker, but it was for the sake of the planet, so you could probably buy one later, if they live. Back in the ruins, the ultimate battle of ultimate destiny was decided. A fight between Gohan, Mutaito, and Roshi begins against the White Martian family. The decades of experience and techniques they've developed over the years allow them to stay in the fight, even though they're nowhere near as strong as the aliens. Furthermore, the fighters have a plan. They have the Mafuba. As long as they could survive long enough to find an opening, the Earthlings had a slim chance to win. Piccolo yells out to Chyme to stop being a coward and face him. However, when he turns to face the deity, Chyme is already gone. He was serious. Chyme would not intervene. This was a mortal dilemma that required a mortal solution, no matter what he thought of the matter himself. During the chaos, an elderly scientist wearing a lab coat drags Goku's unconscious body and an injured Chyme underground through a trapdoor underneath the ruins of the Red Ribbon headquarters. After an unknown amount of time passes, Goku wakes up to find himself in an underground laboratory. Chyme slapping had finally woken him up. Goku yells out in surprise, asking who took him away from the fight, as an old man approaches them. In this secret bunker, it's revealed that this scientist was a man named Dr. Gero. He had witnessed the massacre of the army and saw Goku and Chyme's attempts to save them. Chyme herself even saved him for one of those super-powered freaks. Seeing that they were about to get killed, he went out of his way to rescue them. Chyme thanks the doctor for his kindness, but she states that she needs to go out and help in the battle once again. She could feel the fight raging above ground. She knew she could change the tide of the war. Goku attempted to stand. He had to get back up there and fight with her, but he screams in pain, his aching body refusing to move. Without much of a choice, Chyme leaves the injured Goku with Gero, who promises to patch up the boy the best he could. He was a genius. Fixing bones and internal organs was child's play to him. Chyme chuckles nervously at the doctor's generosity as she takes a deep breath. Before she leaves, Gero growls at her to do her best in killing those demons. She remains silent as she turns intangible, phasing through the rubble as she leaves. Back on the surface, things were not looking good. Yamcha and Krillin were left knocked out in the rubble, their arms shattered. Ader was worse off, his steel body torn in half. The masters of the Turtle School were on their last legs. Was this it for humanity? However, in a spectacular move, the tides of the battle finally shifts in favor of Earth. Chyme emerged from the ground beneath them, blasting boulders and debris in all directions, tackling her brothers from behind as their guards were down. She yells at the masters to take out her father now. She would try to hold off her brothers as best as she could. The masters nod. They couldn't let this opportunity go to waste. Roshi and Mutaito get their second wind, bulking up and firing a master-student Kamehameha directly at Piccolo. The blast does not harm Piccolo in the slightest, as he manages to push back the beam with a single hand. He roars at the humans, condemning them for refusing to acknowledge the difference in their power. Did they really think that their measly attack could do anything to him? Roshi simply chuckles as he mutters that no, they couldn't, and they were counting on it. In a flash, Roshi and Mutaito yell out to Gohan to do it now. Piccolo turns around in confusion as he stares down the elderly Gohan, standing over a discount rice cooker with his arms outstretched. Gohan, once the mightiest martial artist on planet Earth, unleashes the Mafuba. As the green wave of energy rushes towards Piccolo, the Martian's eyes widened. The beam was already so close to him, he didn't have enough time to react. However, his sons, who were beating back their sister, noticed Gohan earlier preparing his sneak attack. They push away Chyme and prepare to fire eye beams to pierce the old man, but they stop, unable to move. Chyme manages to hold them back for a few precious moments as she attempts to attack their minds with her telepathy. The brothers manage to repel the mental strike and blast her away, but it was too late. Gohan was already firing his attack. With no time left to think, the trio of brothers move instinctively as they all rush in to take the blast meant for their father. They couldn't bear to see their only parent left to succumb to another dirty attack from a filthy human. In a stunning, dazzling display, tambourine, drum, and cymbal all get trapped in the rice cooker. Gohan quickly slaps the seal on his container, not realizing what had just happened. As Mutaito had predicted, because Gohan was already dead, he did not perish from using the move. However, it did use up all of his energy, and, more importantly, the time he had left on Earth. Gohan apologizes for not being able to get all of the Martians, imploring his masters to finish what they started and save their world, as his body flickers before simply vanishing, returning to Otherworld. As he fades away, Gohan can only hope that his beloved grandson Goku was still okay. With Gohan gone, Roshi and Mutaito can only look on in disbelief as their final threat stared at them with his eyes wide open. Piccolo is utterly enraged. His anger was reaching a fever pitch. His fury could engulf the entire world. Roshi and Mutaito felt nothing but death approaching as the ruins of the headquarters shook once more. The raw power, the aura emanating from Piccolo's body, was breaking the continent apart. If these humans were responsible for the deaths of his wife and his sons, then their species didn't deserve to live, and neither did their planet. Piccolo lifts his hand, showing his fingers to Roshi and Mutaito.
5 minutes. That's how long you and your planet have left to live. Until then, I will break you. I will make you suffer beyond anything you have ever experienced. You will wish for death, and I will gladly give it to you. Face me, filth.
The rest of those 5 minutes can only be described as a one-sided massacre. Roshi and Mutaito tried their best to fight back against Piccolo, but it was as effective as a worm attempting to fight back against a raging tsunami. Their hands broke attempting to strike the demon, and their kicks didn't even connect at all. They were being toyed with. Their fate was already decided by a much more powerful being. They couldn't even use the Mafuba on Piccolo anymore. Now that Piccolo is aware of their decisive technique, he is doing everything he can to avoid their key attacks. He becomes intangible, which rendered their attacks useless. Chyme can only watch on, frightened beyond all belief, shaking in fear. She had never felt this much fear before. The man she called her father, the one who had raised her to be so kind, the one who had shown her so much compassion. He was no longer here. He was replaced by some indescribable horror. There was nothing they could do. Roshi and Mutaito writhe in pain. Yet, despite it all, they somehow find the strength to stand back up. I commend you for your resilience, but your fate shall not change. You are going to die alongside everyone else on this planet. The only question is, how will you perish? Should I atomize you all with my heat vision? Should I punch a hole straight through the planet and crush it into tiny pebbles? Maybe I should use my strength to send this planet hurtling towards the sun. Or perhaps I should launch a mental attack to force your entire race to face your greatest fears all at once. Every second would feel like an eternity. That would surely be a fitting punishment for the sins you have all committed. Yes, I think I shall go with that last one.
This retribution might be enough to satisfy me. Any last words, you foolish murderers? Just when it seems that all hope is lost, Chyme crashes through the clouds to punch her father, creating a shockwave as Piccolo staggers back. That punch, it actually hurts! Chyme had launched up into the clouds and spun around the planet, gathering enough force to hit her father as much as she could. Chyme once again pleads with her father to listen to himself. He really does sound like a complete lunatic. He sounds like everything he and her mother had ever told them about the White Martians. It wasn't too late to stop this madness. He didn't have to keep being this demon. Yet, Piccolo looks coldly at his daughter with an expression of pure malice. You continue to side with those humans. I see now. You are no daughter of mine. Not anymore. If you want to help these murderous scum so badly, then you can die alongside them. I'm sorry, little lady. It seems like your pops is done talking. We'll have to fight our way out of this one. With Chyme standing by their side, the martial arts masters leap into battle once more in an attempt to fight back against the future, to fight back against their extinction. Piccolo's rage was unlike anything they had ever witnessed, but the masters viewed this as their golden opportunity. They never thought they'd get one like this again. His mind was clouded with anger. He wasn't thinking properly anymore. This was their last chance. As Chyme is beaten severely by Piccolo, Mutaito sees the opening that he needs. Roshi prepares his extra rice cooker, but Mutaito pushes him out of the way. Roshi cries out to his master, yet the invincible Mutaito spirit shines on. I ain't letting any more of my pupils die today! Eat this, you disgusting freak! With no other choice, Mutaito readied his final, greatest technique, his parting gift to humanity and the world. As Piccolo grabs onto Chyme's neck with one hand, she mumbles weakly for her daddy to stop, but Piccolo does not listen. Did she forget? She was the enemy now, and White Martians never show mercy to their enemies. His hands tighten around her neck, asking the one that was once his daughter if she has any last words. But at that moment, something else echoes across the air. Mutaito yells out, "Mafuba!" Piccolo realizes what's about to happen, and what he does next surprises everyone. In his shock, he turns around to face Mutaito and he drops Chyme. He doesn't fly away. He doesn't fire any eye beams. He doesn't become intangible. He simply drops Chyme. In a familiar gust of spectacular emerald whirlwinds, Piccolo is sent slamming into another discount rice cooker with a single sticker reading, "Buy one, get one free." Finally, the last of the White Martians, the former members of the Koringa tribe, the once proudful guardians of the Tower to Heaven, were no more. Earth was safe. Roshi rushes over to his mentor, his lifelong master, colleague, and cherished friend, as he lies on the ground, dying before his very eyes. As life fades from his very body, Mutaito tells Roshi that it's up to him and the next generation to protect the planet. A river of tears flows from the turtle hermit's eyes as he swears to honor his master's request. Mutaito tries to look over to Chyme and mutters that he thanks her for what she did. She had done the right thing. With a parting smile, Mutaito dies in Roshi's arms. Chyme can only feel some tears fall down her face as her knees buckle, falling to the floor as Roshi grieves for his master, surrounded by nothing but a wasteland. They were truly alone. In the aftermath of the battle, multiple towns,
cities, and the entirety of the Red Ribbon Army are left in ruins. The people of the world are now left in a state of shock, grieving over the evil actions committed by the White Martians. The world government and the people at large never knew the origins nor purpose of the White Martians' rampages. For all the general public knew, they were simply monsters that appeared from hell one day to cause death and destruction. Due to this incident is marked forevermore as the Demon King Piccolo War. A few days following the war, Goku recovers from the battle, waking up inside the underground lab of the Red Ribbon Army. He had smelled something delicious, looking over and finding a plate of curry beside his bed. Without any hesitation, he devoured it enthusiastically. Once he was done, he went to explore the rest of the lab. He looks over inside one of the largest rooms, finding the ever-elusive Dr. Gero hunched over a massive computer. Ader was lying on an exam table, with a cable connecting from his head to the computer. During that time, Gero had fixed Ader, and was slowly analyzing the footage from his database, studying everything the robot had recorded from its battle with the Martians. When Goku came into the room, he asked what Ader was doing on the table, as the robot meekly responded that it was something like a checkup. Goku nodded along, thanking the doctor for patching him up and Ader for the food. However, Ader shook his head and remarked that it was actually Gero that made the curry. Goku gives a big smile and thanks the doctor for the great meal as he simply shrugs, continuing to monitor the data from his computer. As Goku asks what happened while he was asleep, Ader fills him in. As far as they knew, the Martians were gone. They weren't quite sure how, but the fact that the Earth was still here and the Martians were nowhere to be found meant that they were defeated somehow. Gero grumbles angrily. He had sent several spy bugs to monitor the fights, but they were immediately destroyed as a result of the intense battles.
I'll need to make those bugs a bit sturdier.
Goku suddenly realizes something important. Someone wasn't here. Chyme! What had happened to Chyme? Ader mentions how, after she had left to fight the Martians, she eventually returned to the lab. When they asked what had happened on the surface, she was quiet, mumbling only that they were safe now. Once she learned that Goku was alive and stable, Chyme thanked the pair for saving her friend. As she was about to fly away, Gero demands to know where she's going, as she calmly states that she was going to talk to God. Gero frowns and huffs. He didn't peg her as the religious type. For someone so pragmatic, he wasn't expecting her to believe all that nonsense. Goku looks over to Ader, who nods. They both knew where she was going. It must have been to the lookout. Goku gets ready to leave as he grabs his power pole, which Gero had retrieved. The monkey boy knows that Chyme is with Kami at the lookout, and he needs to find her as soon as possible. But before he does, he thanks Gero for all his help. Gero merely chuckles, declaring that it was his pleasure and that he should be thanking him. After all, with all the data he gathered from his little pole and his body, well, it was worth its weight in gold. Gero didn't mention any of this, merely keeping these thoughts in his head. He does ask why he would trust a Martian like that girl, as Goku tilts his head.
Well, Chyme is my friend. That's why. Besides, she saved you, didn't she?
Gero had nothing else to say, growling a bit before turning around back to his computer monitor as he bids Goku farewell. Ader decides to stay with Gero to continue his repairs, as Gero told him the other day that he could also upgrade him. Ader, who had felt like a weak burden after the last battle, wishes to become even stronger, so he agreed. Shouldn't we have told him about the other guy we found up there?
And spoil his mood? No, this is for the best. Besides, I want this little project to be a surprise.
You're scarier than I remember, Doctor. With his trusty flying Nimbus, it didn't take long for our hero to reach his destination. When Goku arrives at the lookout, he finds a despondent Kami and Popo. They were glad to see that he was alive and well, but Goku was more concerned with finding his friend. Sure enough, Chyme was nowhere to be found. He asked the deity about what happened in the battle and where Chyme was. Kami sighs deeply, telling Goku that he must brace himself for what he was about to hear. Mutaito had sacrificed himself, giving his life to save the Earth from the White Martians. Goku is left shocked, saddened, and enraged. This was one of his precious masters, one of the wisest and strongest men he had ever known, and he was just gone? Kami also reveals that Chyme came to talk to him after the battle, where she lambasted him with the same comments that Piccolo had. Kami failed to keep his word to protect them, and as a result of his impudence and reluctance to intervene, Flute was dead. Hundreds, if not thousands of people were dead, and Chyme's family was destroyed. Kami recalled the moment vividly. He was silent throughout the entire exchange as she yelled at him through tears. He calmly stated that this is what being a guardian entails, as she spitefully retorts,
Not only were you a terrible guardian, you were a terrible friend. My family trusted you, and now they're gone. I hope your job was worth it.
Before she leaves, Kami asks if she has any requests for him, since this is her first time visiting the lookout. She looks back and coldly proclaims, "Just leave me alone," as she flies off. In the present, Goku is left speechless. He doesn't know what to say. Kami tells Goku about all the regret, sadness, and turmoil he feels about this whole incident. He doesn't know how to make things right, but he swears that he'll do better as the guardian of Earth. Kami recommends to the boy that he should go to his friends and mourn the dead. There will be much rebuilding needed in the mortal realm. Before Goku leaves, he asks Kami where Chyme went, as he points his finger down. Without any hesitation, Goku jumps off the lookout with the Nimbus swiftly catching him. Popo smiles, mentioning how despite all the hardships and loss, Goku still manages to keep going. All he cares about right now is his friends. Kami looks up towards the sky, closing his eyes as he recalls an ancient memory of himself in his youth, training to be Kami alongside another. Having friends to rely on must be nice. It takes some time, but eventually, Goku finds Chyme on the very edges of the land of Korin. Chyme is silently crying as she overlooks a cliffside. Next to her is the grave for her mother. Goku approaches her, yelling out her name as he jumps down from his Nimbus. Chyme quickly grabs him with her telekinesis, laying him gently on the ground as she smiles. She was very glad to see him, as he said that he wasn't sure he was gonna make it, but Ader and that doctor were really smart. They fixed him up in no time. Chyme smiles briefly before looking back out to the cliffside. Goku finally notices the tombstone and asks what that is.
That's my mother. You remember her, don't you? Yeah, she was really nice, and she ran my fortune with her ball.
Without missing a beat, Goku walks over to the grave and silently prays. Chyme watches on for a moment before then joining him with the prayer. Goku mentions how he always made sure to honor his grandpa. He would pray to him every night and let him know he was doing okay while he trained with Roshi and then Mutaito. He was told how those who die aren't really gone. They live on in their hearts and watch over them from above. Death wasn't the end. It was a new beginning. At least, that was what Roshi said. Chyme sighs, recalling her own upbringing. In her culture, living amongst the Karinga tribe, death is seen as something of a celebration, as a transition to the next life. But with everything she had seen, she didn't know if she could celebrate this time. A gentle breeze washed over them as silence filled the air. However, the silence was soon broken as Goku spoke up. He says that he's sorry for being so weak. If he was stronger, then Flute would still be here. Not just her, but Piccolo, her brothers, and the Karinga tribe, and Master Mutaito. They would all still be here. Chyme tells him that this wasn't his fault. There was nothing he could have done. White Martians are a force no one from this planet could possibly face alone. Yet, despite how unfathomably powerful and fierce they were, Goku never gave up. He never stopped fighting, never stopped trying to do the right thing. It was thanks to his courage that inspired her to stand up to her family.
Doing the right thing. It's what we had to do. But why is it so hard?
As tears start to fall from her eyes, Goku rushes forward to hug Chyme. This surprises the girl, and when she asks Goku why he did that, he mentions he was told once that when someone cares about another, they hug. Chyme smiles, hugging back as the sun descends overhead. They talk for a while, as Goku is able to slightly cheer her up. They bond over their family and the memories they made with them. Goku eventually brings up the idea that maybe she should try going up the tower again. Chyme angrily remarks that she has nothing to say to Kami, but Goku says he was actually talking about Korin. He's a smart cat. Maybe he can figure out how to heal the hurt in her heart. She pauses for a moment and agrees to do so. Before she leaves, Goku tells her to wait a moment as he says that he'll be right back. He flies off in the Nimbus and comes back shortly after with some flowers and incense. The monkey boy walks up to the grave and puts the flower on it, as well as lighting the incense. Goku tells Chyme that this is what he does whenever he's sad and feels like talking to his grandpa. Roshi taught Goku over the years on how to properly respect the dead, since he was always thinking about Gohan. Chyme nods as they both pray to Flute together one last time. When this is done, Chyme leaves to talk to Korin as Goku heads to West City. Before they leave, Goku asks Chyme if he can fight her one day, as the Martian girl responds with a quiet, soft-spoken smile.
Maybe.
And so, the pair depart on their separate paths. Goku heads to West City to meet with Bulma and his friends. Roshi was there as well, still recovering from the injuries he received from his battle with the Martians. Together, they mourn the loss of Mutaito. Goku, Krillin, and Yamcha resolve to get stronger so that a tragedy like this doesn't happen again. Around the same time, Chyme flies over to Korin's tower to speak with the tower's master. He offers to tell her anything she'd like, as a token of gratitude for saving the world. Chyme quickly settles on her request. She wants to know everything about Kami, where he came from, who he is, the whole story. The cat isn't too surprised as he agrees, telling her everything that he knew. Korin reveals to her Kami's origin as a Martian refugee, and how he first started off on this planet, his time living amongst Earthlings as a detective, his first meeting with the previous Kami, his tutelage as his apprentice, his friendship and rivalry with Garlic, his eventual betrayal, and how it affected John. As a result, she learns more about him and understands the things he had to go through. He wasn't the cold, unfeeling god she initially thought. Kami, no. John was a man who struggled just as much as anyone else. Chyme thanks Korin as she then heads off to the lookout once more. After Mutaito's funeral, Goku and friends get approached by a mysterious flying drone. The drone tells Goku that Jiro wants to speak to him. Bulma finds this to be incredibly suspicious, but Goku says it's nothing to worry about. This is just that doctor guy inviting him over. Maybe it was time to pick up Ader? Goku flies off on the Nimbus to the Red Ribbon Army HQ ruins and heads to the underground lab. When he arrives, Goku is shocked to see a wounded Tao lying on an operating table. Wasn't he the jerk that killed Flute and started the whole war in the first place? Ader tells Goku that they found Tao some time ago, and that Jiro was working tirelessly to fix him. The doctor asks Goku if he'd like to help him out with a little experiment. He'd activate his android, and if he fights Goku, he wants him to truly test his capabilities. Goku agrees enthusiastically. He really wanted to get back to fighting. Jiro laughs maniacally as he presses a button which activates Tao. The cyborg assassin gets off his table as he sees Goku. After scanning him with his enhanced sensors, he immediately attacks. The child is able to keep up with the robot for a while, but Cyborg Tao had a lot of upgrades added to him, such as his tracking system and increased power. Jiro chuckles once more. His calculations were correct. This would be the beginning of his completely overworked cyborg program. His way to arm humanity with the weapons they need to defend themselves from any future alien threats. These upgrades were explosive, with Tao's improved Dodon Paw nearly caving in the laboratory. Jiro yells at them to stop fighting. Did they want them all to die? Tao declares that he still owes this kid a proper beatdown, but Jiro rebuttals by pulling up his remote. If Tao does anything to harm his science projects or himself, he'll activate the bomb inside him, which would kill him. Tao, incredibly nervous, begrudgingly agrees to stand down. As the androids scramble to begin repairs to the lab, Jiro offers Goku a chance to get stronger while helping Ader. Jiro will continue to upgrade Tao and Ader as Goku fights them. This was needed to check their effectiveness in battle. This way, not only will the androids get stronger, but so will Goku. Thinking back to his promise to Chyme, Goku agrees while Ader cheers and Tao moans. It was time for a new era of training to begin. Meanwhile, on the lookout, Chyme confronts Kami once more. She states that, although she'll never forgive him, she understands him. His position meant everything to him, even more than, at times, the people he was meant to protect. The rules bound by his position prevented him from being the protector the people really needed. Kami is quiet as Chyme makes a request, one that neither Kami nor Popo expected. She asked if he could train her. Surprised, Kami asks her why. She simply states that she'll be the defender this planet needs. She'll be the defender that he forgot to be. For a moment, Kami sees the same determined fire in her eyes that he saw in Goku. The same eyes he himself had long ago. Kami smiles and accepts, telling her that she'll be his pupil and that they'll be undergoing very intense training. However, this wouldn't be any simple training. They wouldn't be training only as gods. No, they would also train as Martians. Chyme and John had lived as Earthlings for their entire lives, but not anymore. For the first time in hundreds of years, the Manhunters will rise again.